Hey everybody, Jamie's here, just saying hi.
Okay, calling in the 105 for
You know, that's what happens at a major championship. You know, you see more experienced players come out. They know moving day is really important, and I expected Catrina and Hailey King both to be up here shredding. And then you got a player like Jessica Weese, who has been playing these courses since she was probably 10 years old. I've had 2 epic battles with Hailey King so far, and you know, I know there's many more to come, so I'm excited that the next one will be tomorrow.
Hello everyone and welcome to Championship Sunday here at the 2021 United States Women's Disc Golf Championships. Terry Miller alongside 4-time Women's World Champion Valerie Jenkins. Also joining in the booth is Hannah Macbeth and Val. Looks like we're going to be blessed with a gorgeous day for weather. Some champions have already been crowned. What are you thinking about today?
Well, I cannot wait to see what unfolds today. We have a 2-stroke lead. Paige Pierce is on top, but Hailey King is charging. With her round yesterday, it was just absolutely incredible coming up from the chase card. So right now, it's a 2-woman battle, but we have a lot of battles going on with the rest of the division. So it should be a pretty fun round.
Yeah, well, speaking of rounds, yesterday we saw 2 great rounds coming out of Hailey and Paige. There were a few things that were said afterwards. Hannah Macbeth listens very intently to what our competitors are saying. And Hannah, what did you take away from what Paige was saying after yesterday's round?
Yeah, Paige just saying, you know, we've done this before, Hailey and I. We've battled back and forth, and according to what my research, they're 1 for 1. Last year at the Green Mountain Championships, you know, Paige and Hailey going and battling all the way out to the end. They break themselves away from the division. They fight, they set the pace, they match the pace. Paige came out on top that time, so the difference there being experience. She gets a little bit more under her belt. Hailey comes out at the Disc Golf Pro Tour finale and just absolutely lights up on the putting green, matches Paige, and then they go into a playoff and Hailey takes it with a circle edge putt. Paige and Hailey have this history together, and now this is their 3rd time meeting. But I'm so excited because Hailey is the only FPO that matches Paige in every stat, not just putting, not just fairways. And Terry, this is one of the courses that's the most scoreable for these women.
Well, we will be excited to see how this compares to the previous 2 rounds. And now we've got a few highlights from yesterday's historic performance out of Hailey King. This is her getting things started on hole number 1, the low line shot that just hovers above the ground and starts her off right with a birdie on the very first hole.
And it was so much fun to catch most of Hailey's round, even though she was on the chase card. And she was about 4 holes ahead of the lead card. So Hailey was really setting the pace, and it was incredible to see her parking shots And then we see Paige moments later seeing if she can hit the same lines. Hailey was on fire from the putts, but parking shots as the same.
Yeah, and as you were just saying, she did it from everywhere, whether it was from circle's edge or way out in circle 2, and then she'd step up to a shot like this one on hole number 10, and she would just put it right next to the pin, almost no putting required at that point. And then to close out the round, she does it in perfect Hailey fashion, coming right up, skipping next to the pin, touching the pole koozie, and finishing out. And now, her competitor, the woman she's chasing, one of the most titled women we've ever seen in our sport, and of course, Paige Pierce, 5-time world champion, 15-time major winner. Paige Pierce looks dialed and focused this week.
And from what we saw last weekend, it was such great competition at the OTB Open between Paige and Catrina. And seeing two women at the top of their game competing their hardest, I am sure we're in for that same type of battle this weekend. And Paige, such a great competitor, she looks to play up to that same competition.
She always rises to the occasion. It sounds like we've got Chase Card ready to tee.
Chase Card is all tied together at 3 down. From Beacon, New York, representing Team Discraft, please welcome Missy Gannon.
That's got to be one of the most impressive announcing. They've got the echo mode on, just really making it feel very stadium-like here on T1.
Second on the tee, from Eugene, Oregon, representing Team Discmania, it's Ella Hansen.
And one throw, Ella is up next. As he just mentioned a moment ago, all competitors on the Chase Card tied at 3 under. Ella finds herself inside the circle.
Third on the tee, from Rancho Cucamonga, California, she's on Team Innova. Give a welcome round of applause to Kona Star Panic.
Coming off of a tough round yesterday, Kona did well on the fairways, but just had a lot of struggles in the putting green. I know this major is definitely something that she wants. She's going to have to really push today if she wants to make it happen.
And rounding out the tee, also tied at -3, all the way from Verona, Wisconsin, representing Team Innova. Warm round of applause for Holly Finley.
And also who we saw quite a bit of yesterday, making some incredible putts, Holly Finley. She is 4th to tee here on the Chase Card. A few moments ago, we saw Ella Hansen teeing off, and she's really come into the disc golf with a boom recently, but she's got some Frisbee experience, we'll say.
Yeah, and it's no surprise Ella was the hooker on her ultimate team, smashing drives like that with an ultimate disc, and now doing it here with a disc on the fairways.
Watching some incredible highlights. She's a multiple-time champion, and I believe they must call her one throw because it only takes her one throw to find her receivers there in the end zone. Taking a look at a few of the details, known as one throw Ella. Says she's won ultimate national championship from at the University of Oregon, and won 2 Ultimate World Championships.
Yeah, I put out a tweet earlier in the week saying I was excited to see how the women from Ultimate feel about competing on old school courses, but also courses in the woods. She said one of the biggest skill transfers from Ultimate for her is scrambling and throwing from unconventional stances, as we saw earlier. So she's really good, and she feels confident in the woods.
Well, incredible that she just started playing in the Pro Division in September of last year, picked up in March by Team Discmania, and here she is on the chase card at a PDGA major.
So no stranger to high-level competition in flying disc sports. But it is interesting, transitioning from that team sport to individual when all the pressure weighs on your shoulders.
Solid forehand approach shot by Missy Gannon. Looks like she'll take a par on hole 1.
And we have to note, you mentioned all 4 of these players sitting at 3 under. They're tied with Jessica Weese, who is in our lead card today. So it should be fun to see how these players compete on the chase card and see if Jessica can hold on or creep up to Catrina Allen, who's just 1 stroke ahead. So that's that kind of secondary battle that we have going on. How are these women going to shake out at the end of today's round? Because it's just really stacked there in 3rd place all the way down to, let's bring Madison Walker in 9th place. I mean, it's really going to be kind of a second moving day here on Championship Sunday.
Kona with a easy tap in for her par to complete hole 1. That should be coming right up. And Ella, the only woman with what I feel like is a legitimate birdie opportunity here from this chase card. You see how that she almost got it to pin high and just really showing off her distance on this very first hole.
Oh, and just hanging it out a little bit too much on the right-hand side.
First putt of the day, first time competing in a major. Close enough for me. I'd say she'll get the next one.
And I think we're going to see all pars here on the opening hole. Again, 408 feet.
Thankfully for Ella's arm, I think she got dubbed the Crush Girl. With her distance, I'm sure she'll have plenty of opportunities for birdie out on this course.
This course being the most open of the 3 courses that we'll see this weekend. And as you just said, I think there are some trees, but she's going to have the distance to be able to reach every single hole. And this is Paige Pierce playing a little bit of catch. She spoke of it yesterday about how great it's been. Actually, I believe her caddy, Nate Perkins, was speaking on Instagram about how great it was for them to play catch and to get warmed up prior to the round. Now, we all know you can go out to a field and you can throw discs, but then you have to go retrieve them and then you throw them back. And it's just a little bit of a slower process when you have a friend to play catch with, or in this case, a caddy and a high-class player like Nate Perkins. You get your warm-up reps in that much quicker, and it's a lot more fun.
Yeah, one of my favorite ways to warm up. You can really get the feel for those touch approach shots, because you don't want to be drilling it into your caddy's chest. So you get nice and soft and kind of get the feel. And of course, as you said, you get a lot more reps when you're playing catch. Missy Gannon on the tee of 2. And one thing to note, there is a lot of out of bounds on this course that we need to be aware of. We have creeks that come into play. There's lakes, roads, mandatories, hazards. So we'll try and keep you guys as informed as possible. But I'm really hoping these players are really practiced up and they're aware of the danger on each and every hole, because it does change up a lot.
Well, and if at first you miss your first putt, then just put the next one closer. Good shot there by Ella.
And what I noticed, you see a little bit from the flanner behind the tee. The wind seems to be blowing this afternoon, I should say.
Looks like it's pushing from behind them, and that one goes a little straight. She might be obstructed on the approach or the putt there. Looks like she's deep of the pin. Hole 2 is 336 feet.
And isn't it fitting? We've had absolutely perfect conditions the first 2 days of competition, and then when it all comes down to it, let's add a little wind to the equation and make this a little bit more challenging.
We've got Jamie Thomas out on the ground, and Jamie, we were just talking about the conditions. You've been there for all 3 rounds. Break it down for us. What are they experiencing today versus the previous 2 days?
Well, definitely this course out here at Rocklin, though it does have some trees on it, we'll have plenty of areas to continue to let that day heat up. It is low wind, very scoreable. I expect to see a lot of attacking off of the tee, and it's really put up your best score and try to make up the ground that you see between the front 2 and the rest of the field.
Jamie, can you talk a little bit about the weather out there? Do you feel like it's any more humid or less than the previous 2 days? I think of Jessica Weese recently talking about having a hard time getting a grip on her disc because of the humidity. Do you, anything you're experiencing?
Definitely a drier heat out here. This course is a little more exposed to the sun than the Shady Oaks course. And, you know, kind of on par with what we saw Friday at Auburn. I don't expect the wind to be up today, though. So we'll see what happens. This should be very scoreable.
Thank you to Jamie Thomas out there on the ground. We're going to have both him and Sarah Holcomb throughout the day. We'll be able to get some insights as to what the vibe and tone is as everyone's experiencing their championship Sunday.
Yeah, and these women are certainly prepared for these courses. I know Catrina Allen had said that they ask for mid-ranges and a lot more ground control than these women have been experiencing, and just overall course awareness. She really likes how Rocklin gives more room to shape your shots, but it's still technical and challenging them in a way that they certainly haven't seen in a while.
Terry, I know you were out there checking out the courses before you flew up to Bend to do some commentary with us. How do you think this course differs from the previous 2? What type of advantages do, let's say we've got the battle of Paige and Hailey. Who would you say has an advantage on this course?
Yeah, and that's a great question because I feel like Paige and Hailey have very similar skill sets. They both have big distance. They both have great forehands, and they both can make a putt from anywhere. So when you come out to a course like this, I don't think one over the other has any particular advantage, but I do feel like they have a slight advantage over the rest of the field because if I recall, there's very few holes that they cannot drive all the way to the pin. There are a few holes, as for the rest of the players, as Missy just scoops out there, there's a few holes for the rest of the players where it's like they're really pushing their shot. They're probably not getting there on their best throw. I don't think that's the case so for Hailey and for Paige. So they definitely have an advantage, and you may see them even extend their lead by the end of the day. Overall, though, the course certainly more open than what we've seen on the previous 2 courses. And as Jamie said, a little bit more exposed, and we'll find some more sunshine out there.
Yeah, and speaking to the other advantage that Paige could have over Hailey, just that mental advantage of being in this position before and battling for a major title.
I really do feel that Sunday just adds to the pressure. Regardless if you've been in the situation before or not, I think Championship Sunday, knowing that something so big like a major title is on the line, it makes every putt so much more difficult. Hopefully these players are really dialed in, and as we know, this is the first PDGA major of the year, so this would be a great way to really It would be the best highlight of any player's year, but a great way to get things going.
Well, our chase card is through hole 2. We're excited for the battle that's about to begin on the other side of these commercial breaks. We'll see you soon.
Most players are already using UDisc to keep track of their scores, but now we can also see how other people are doing.
It's really flexible, contactless transactions, no paper scorecard, so doing the environment is solid.
Most people just see a disc. At Discraft, we see over 40 years of innovation, driven by passion, consistency that inspires talent, built on a foundation, designed for success. Over 4 decades of experience behind your first throw.
I'll take this one.
There's no shortage of things to make us anxious these days.
With all the chatter in the world, it's easy to get knocked off balance.
Quiet mind naturally promotes a zen-like calm without dulling your abilities.
Women are being featured in the magazine.
The women are out there, the pro women, so then it kind of motivates a lot of us amateurs to go out there and not be afraid.
I would love to see more tournaments like this in the future for women's disc golf.
I want to see more women filling spots in a tournament than men. That'd be something to brag about.
Disc golf's legit and we're here to stay and we're gonna make names for ourselves.
Say yes to disc golf!
Our warehouse manager, Dylan, is on vacation this week, so we decided to bring Heather in to keep things running at a high level. She's already had a huge impact on our crew, and overall, they've embraced the changes surprisingly well. We're really happy with how Heather is doing in this new leadership role.
A power grip is essential for a long-distance backhand power drive. Hold the disc like a steering wheel with fingers wrapped underneath the rim and the top of the disc facing you. Drop your non-throwing hand and tip the disc down to flatten it. You are now ready to rip.
Welcome back, everyone. We're going to do a little flashback to what we saw last year. This, of course, being last October. Paige Pierce and Hailey King going to sudden death at the Tour Championships.
I remember it like it was yesterday, Terry.
This was so exciting to watch because there were several battles throughout the end of this season where Hailey just was so close and continued to fall just short. And I know that the experience was building through each one of those kind of falling short moments. This is in the playoff hole. We saw Paige shank. This is her second shot, while Hailey had this putt to win.
She's done it.
And never a doubt.
Just incredible.
Yeah, Hailey takes down the largest paycheck we've seen in disc golf, the $20,000 prize, and maybe more importantly, the fact that she was able to get past Paige Pierce, and she did it with all the pressure and all the eyes on her. And look at those statistics, 2018 versus 2009, career wins 21 to 137. But clearly, the number she's hoping to change today is that third one, trying to put up her first ever major victory.
Looking to get on the board, and what I love about that comparison there, she earned almost half of her career earnings in that one event.
In that one last putt we just saw, the pressure. Let's see if she can bring some of that to today. And she's going to have a tall task going up against Paige Pierce.
Just under a minute to go.
And I think Paige Pierce likes the pressure. I think she feeds off of it. You know, in the past, she's gone to Instagram and social media and done interviews where she might be leading the pack or beating them by 10 strokes on a course. And, you know, I think she, for lack of a better term, finds herself a little bit bored. And when a woman like Hailey comes into the division and shows that promise on the putting green and on the fairway and shows that dedication, Paige feeds off that energy, and it can actually motivate her to play even better. Scary stuff.
And we talked about Nate Perkins on the bag this weekend, getting warmed up with Paige, and she also said that no one knows my game as well as Nate Perkins. So if you want someone in your corner, as you can see, they're even talking about maybe a little bit of a wind read and exactly what disc she's going to be throwing here off the tee on hole number 1. Ready to go. I'm just waiting for the official "let's get ready to rumble" to come out of our announcer, because that's what it feels like for this battle between our top 2 contenders.
Terry, we don't have enough money to pay for that quote you just said.
Discraft, introducing Paige Pierce.
Oh, I love the dedication. The guy holding the sign, still clapping with one hand and his knee. Here's Paige Pierce.
Like you said, Hannah, Paige lives for this competition. Paige has really set the bar for women's disc golf, and she really ends up competing against herself many times. But she knows that Hailey is going to be right there every step of the way.
Well, just a few steps from the pin, an opening park job by Paige Pierce.
The tee. All the way from West Bend, Wisconsin, representing Team Discraft. Please put your hands together for Hailey King.
Showing a little bit more emotion than we've seen in the years past. You can tell this is a very big moment, big opportunity for Hailey.
Hailey finding some action on that right side.
From Pipestone, Minnesota.
Immediate advantage to Paige.
On Team Prodigy, give a warm welcome for Catrina Allen.
Catrina Allen focusing a lot on this course, knowing it's the last course that they play. She said, I dialed in the last 5 holes, played them over and over. I just want to make sure if I'm leading the tournament or I'm behind, I have a game plan for if I want to attack or lay up.
Right out of the gates, coming in with a roller. This is going to finish to the right of the pin, but about pin high. Actually, just a little bit past it.
Rounding out your lead card, one of our locals from Grass Valley, California, representing Team
And what I can tell you guys,
Jessica Weese.
wait for it. And what I can tell you guys, no matter how many times you've been in this position, or you've been on a lead card, you've had announcers announcing your name, your heart is racing when you step up to the tee. Jessica Weese looking to make her local crowd proud today.
She's also off on that right side, but let's take another look at Paige Pierce and this opening drive. The park job to get things going. She's going to be immediately opening with a birdie.
And this was just an absolutely perfect shot to start the day.
With that distance driver too, Val, we haven't seen that in a couple holes. I know Paige did a quick in the bag yesterday on Instagram, and it was mostly mid-ranges.
Incredible. Well, and here we are looking at what they've been doing this week. It's incredible because Hailey King's round yesterday was the single highest rated round we've ever seen in U.S. women's disc golf history. Her round unofficially rated 1038, which is incredible. But right there, as she's still trying to hunt down Paige Pierce, Paige's round yesterday, 1016. And her 1016 actually followed up the opening round, which was 1014. So they are playing head and shoulders above the rest of the division here, and in fact, setting records while they're doing it.
Hole 1's requiring an upshot for Hailey. A little hot. Something to keep in mind on these Northern California courses is that hard pan around the baskets. And as you can see, Hailey hitting at basket height and skipping about 20 feet long. So it's important for players to be aware of how the grass has grown or if you're landing on dirt or not.
That could almost be an entire page in your caddy book as to, okay, hole 7's green is a little bit faster than what we're going to see on hole 10. There's more grass here. The grass is alive or the grass is not on, hole 14. Those are all notes that they have to be making while they're out here practicing before the event.
I think that was something Hailey struggled with early on, too. In her career against Paige, just even at Green Mountain, she kept going with that wide forehand approach and it wasn't skipping in towards the basket. She never corrected it, so she kept giving herself all of these long putts and was struggling to get strokes on Paige. And even though she could match her on the fairways, now a year or so later, she's at this major event and she's got to take these things into consideration. If she's asking for her discs to cool down on the green, she's got to be in control of it on the next one.
Catrina Allen in layup territory, not able to really give us a good run. Or maybe she is today. And as soon as I said that, I thought, well, wait a minute. Catrina Allen, of course, incredibly skilled, but more so, if she wants any chance at winning this, she's going to have to be going at 200 miles per hour every single throw if she's looking to somehow find herself on top of the podium.
It's so true. Catrina Allen, one of the best competitors out there, and yeah, you could congratulate her on a third place finish, but that's not what she wants. She wants to be in contention, and starting off today with an 8-stroke deficit to Hailey and a 10-stroke deficit to Paige, she's got a lot of room to make up. The branch in her way, Hailey straddles out to save her par. That's not going to do it. 2-stroke swing immediately with just one hole played. I'm thinking with an error kind of already happening for Hailey, that could be a moment just to settle the nerves a little bit.
I was thinking the exact same. It may sound weird, but that might almost be a blessing in disguise. We'll see how she recovers.
We know there's just too much disc golf still left to play for that to really matter down the home stretch. Hailey does just need to get a little bit more comfortable on hole 2.
Good solid opening putting stroke there by Catrina Allen. We're going to move over. This is Ella Hansen. We've seen her have birdie looks on 1 and 2. Here she is on 3. And I had to pause for a moment, but Ella Hansen finding the bottom of the basket. Great birdie. See what she can do throughout the day. Of course, we'll keep our eyes on anyone trying to chase down our lead card, but it's going to be a tall task, especially as Paige Pierce parks the very first hole.
There's so many scenarios running through my head. Being in this type of competition many times before, being up against Paige before, there's almost a disadvantage to having Paige have such a big lead. She can start to make mistakes. If she gets a little bit too comfortable, she could end up losing strokes. But this is way too early to make any assumptions like that. I think her foot's going to be on the gas as long as she needs it to be. Paige Pierce, she had to give up some major title opportunities last year with events being canceled, including this one, along with the World Championships. Paige is continuing to make her mark on history, and this could be the start. 16 major championships on the line.
Yeah, and we've been talking a lot about just Paige and how she's sort of fallen short at a lot of these events, and there's been a lot more just talks of other women being able to take down these events, including Hailey, Catrina, Kona even this year. And I think she wants that elite dominance back. You know, for a long time, as far as I can remember, it was the Paige Pierce show. She wants those headlines back. She wants to be the dynasty in women's disc golf. And while having a dynasty can be a good thing, I think, you know, these women aren't going to go down without a fight.
One of her most consistent competitors, always challenging her, is this woman, Catrina Allen. Looks like this has a little hyzer finish, maybe a little skip to the pin. And that also will put her inside the circle, looking at a putt on this 336 hole number 2.
As you said, and as the announcer said, you know, Jessica is definitely a hometown hero of this area, growing up in Grass Valley. And even before she played disc golf on these courses, she was walking around them with her mom, watching her mom play. So she said she got her career started out here back when she was 9. She started coming out to these same courses, throwing the disc. Now here she is, all those years later, competing for a major title.
Looks like we'll have 3 out of our 4 women on the right side of the fairway. We know how that tree can come into play. It looks like it may for Hailey King. But first, let's take another look at Catrina Allen's drive. She's closest to the pin of the group.
You have a little bit of tailwind on this 336-foot hole. And Catrina really used it to her advantage, and including that nice skip right underneath the basket.
Well, and the next time we'll see Catrina Allen will likely be at the Portland Open right here on the Disc Golf Network. Of course, coming to you Friday through Sunday, June 4th through the 6th, exclusively here on Friday and Saturday. We, of course, invite and welcome all of our YouTube guests that are here, maybe just for this final day. But if you want the exclusive, if you really want the goods, to figure out how we get here on these championship final rounds, you need to be a subscriber on the Disc Golf Network. We'll see you guys in Portland.
And a brand new course for the Portland Open, typically out at Blue Lake, but new course design from Dustin Keegan. Should be a fun watch.
Looks to be the middle of circle 2, maybe even the deep side of circle 2. That'll work for a tap-in par for Jessica.
Hailey left her drive out to the right and never got that kind of hyzer finish skip I'm sure she expected. So she's going to have a little bit of a blocked view to the basket. So again, straddling out to the side. We know Hailey goes for all of these putts.
And gives that a good run. You could almost see a little look of frustration as she was getting to her lie, just realizing that this tree is, she put herself just in about the worst spot she could have. There's not a lot of trees in these first few holes. However, they are providing plenty of obstruction. Paige seemed to get past it, and she's even closer than I think we realized. She go 2 for 2 to open her round.
Paige continuing that incredibly perfect statistic of 100% C1X putting this weekend. And she still had tester putts like that, putts just inside the circle barely, and Paige's putter looks just on fire.
With confidence, Hailey comes back. That's a great putt. Unfortunately, she's still going to lose a stroke to Paige. So not exactly what any of us probably thought was going to happen, that after 2 holes of play, Paige would extend her lead from 2 to 5.
Hailey she looks nervous. She looks a little rigid. This is a lot of pressure. Something she is not quite as familiar as Paige or Catrina Allen. Let's hope she can settle in, because the opportunities are starting to slip here.
Yeah, and as we were just thinking about Paige's statistics, she's going to be impossible to beat if she never misses a putt. Let's just put it out there. Of course, she's done very well, not finding any OBs either. I don't even know if that statistic is on there. She's done incredibly well. And then look at all the categories. She's either first or second. And you think, well, how do you beat Paige Pierce? Well, at this point, you almost have to hope she makes a mistake, because she's doing everything she needs to do, and that's why she's got this 5-stroke advantage over Hailey King. This is Holly Finley for birdie on hole number 5. A very uncharacteristic miss there by Holly. She is usually so solid inside the circle.
And Holly remains at 3 down for the tournament. As you can see, just 1 back of Missy Gannon sitting there in 4th place. 2 back of Catrina.
See Paige double checking her grip on the tee and then stepping ahead a little bit just to see what the wind looks like.
And it is important, especially on this hole, 321 feet. The players are throwing over an out-of-bounds creek. The basket is how far from that creek bed, Terry?
Only probably about 15 feet. I believe on the short side. Okay, yep. And Paige within 15 feet of the pin, directly to the right of it.
Yeah, great rotations on that disc. Puts it up nice and high, lets it fade out, lose the rotations coming down, and no movement on that green.
What I saw from that shot, it seems difficult to be that close to the basket. I think players would typically err on the long side just to make sure they're safe.
Wow, and Catrina just barely getting over the creek there. It looks like she almost landed in it, and then it skipped up into the pin. I mean, the one tree next to the spotter there is the tree that you just cannot hit, because I feel like if you hit that, it could kick you just about anywhere. More than likely, it would probably kick you out of bounds into the creek. So if you're going to miss anywhere, you want to miss to the right side, because it's so much more open out there.
Speaking of nerves, Jessica did an interview with Johnny Disc Golf on his YouTube channel leading up to this event. She said, I have nerves going into it, but, you know, it's just like every other tournament. I'm excited to play, But as soon as I step foot on the course, it's not about what tournament it is. It's about me and executing the hole.
As we've seen, very reachable third hole here at 321 feet. Hailey doesn't love her footing. And that's going to push over to that left side. I believe that's going to remain in bounds. We're going to check in with Jamie Thomas after this, but first let's take a look at Paige Pierce with her tee shot coming in from our catch cam.
For Paige to have the tee, I think that gives her that slight advantage. She's setting the pace, and it's been an incredible pace so far.
Let's take a look here at hole number 3 from the drone's eye view. I'd also love to ask, as we saw hanging out wide to the right seems to be the play, but Jamie, I want to know on the green, Valid asked how short the water is that comes into play. You know, do I have a correct read on that tree as to the danger that it is, and is there any trouble out there that they're going to find on the green?
Well, front edge of the tee to the beginning of the water is about 280. So it's a little bit of an optical illusion. The basket actually on the rear half of the green, the OB behind a little bit closer than the OB that the players threw over.
All right, and we see a gentle slope, not something that should really come into play, but I really do love the pin position that they chose here for the Women's Championships. Something really unique, Val, you could speak to this as well, that out in California, at least at these courses, we've seen 3 to 5 or more pin positions on almost every one of these courses. What do you think about the ones that they've either picked, or how do you go about picking the correct pins?
I'm not sure how you go about it, but I do expect them to go for the most challenging pins possible, the most fair. Oh, as Catrina nearly walks that one in for a long run at birdie. But I do enjoy that they've picked some pins that require these players to develop a strategy. Are you going for the basket in one? Are you laying up? And when we get down to the final 2 holes, there's going to be a lot of situations that we'll talk about. And I think they've done a very good job with choosing the right pins, good amount of distance to keep the entire field very competitive.
I don't have the shot. I don't have the shot.
Jumper from Jessica. Looks to be off to the right, and just thinking back a moment, Catrina, with just a little flight left in that, almost was ready to, well, she was starting to walk it in. She thought she had hit it. So that, to me, just talks about the confidence that she has out here. I'm very excited to see if Catrina can start converting on some of these, well, either longer putts and or parking it. We'll see if she can challenge either one of our 2 front runners.
Great putt from Hailey from circle 2. She'll get in for her birdie. Hailey said that missing putts inside of the 45-foot mark is really frustrating to her. Most girls think it's a bonus birdie. She considers it a gimme. So definitely a lot of practice that's gone behind that.
Paige looking to go 3 for 3 to open up our championship Sunday.
There is just no doubt as I'm watching Paige. Incredible drives. She's right there inside the circle, and her putting stroke looks so great. Hailey, on the other hand, that drive made me hold my breath. That big putt made me hold my breath. And if I'm nervous, I can only imagine what Hailey is going through.
Yeah, Hailey said getting off the tee has always been her struggle, so being able to do that at these elite events has been one of her biggest takeaways from this year so far. It's really the putting green where she feels the most confident.
Well, if she's not clean off the tee, she finds a way to still bury the long putt. As you said, her comfort zone may be a little bit bigger than most of our competitors in the FPO division, and Hailey King finds her first birdie of the round.
There we go. We know we've got the 5 strokes. Just 3 holes have been played, but it's already starting to grow.
Now we're going to jump over. We've got Ella Hansen, who's currently tied for 3rd. See a little bit of a left to right wind. Oh, it seems like she's getting her putter warmed up. First 2 were just off the mark, and since then, I think that's the new Ella Hansen dance. I like it. As long as it's following up a birdie, I can get on board with that.
Ella, of course, being new to disc golf, she was so excited to be on the chase card for a major tournament. I mean, this is a huge deal for her, and getting birdies on the scorecard, that's always a great thing. Now we're seeing her rise up, and seeing her in that tie for 3rd currently with Catrina Allen.
Well, 4 has just given up 1 birdie so far today, coming in as the 5th most difficult hole. 354 feet for Paige Pierce.
Just really liking those really high ceiling fairway shots. I mean, compared to what we've seen the previous 2 days, these courses are all playing so different.
Yeah, and I'll say on this specific hole that this sets up so well for someone like Hailey or Paige to go wide out to the right, because all the danger on this hole is short and left of the pin. So when you can go out and around it all, like we're seeing by Paige and seeing by Hailey. Now Hailey's a little bit short, but those trees right there, those are the ones that I thought would provide the most trouble for our players. And Paige was just trying to take them out of play, really capitalizing on her power. Catrina trying to go for the low shot, trying to get a little ground play to carry her to the pin. And Jessica is going to take a low line drive that needs to hook up and hit left. We're through 4. We'll be back with you guys in just a few moments after a word from these sponsors.
So, I mean, we've been running this league since 2007, and we've made little tweaks here and there, but I would say absolutely the biggest change that we've made is moving all the scoring over to UDisc.
UDisc has made it so easy for someone who doesn't even own a smartphone. The beauty of it is that it does so much while still having a very simple and straightforward format. I can't imagine somebody being a disc golf person without having UDisc.
Welcome back. We are here with Catrina Allen in her approach shot, trying to play the low skip.
She's left herself well short. It's going to be another long putt. As we know, from what we've seen in the couple holes previous, she's going to be running that one for sure. And again, Jessica Weese, far back. These first 3 holes have presented Jessica with these long kind of throw, go for it type of putts. This is another one here. A little bit more distance on this.
Just really not giving herself good looks at birdie thus far. Looks like she's going to be playing a low skip shot. I don't think it's so much the distance that she has there. it's going to be the awkward stance, and we'll see which way she has to straddle out. And we move over to hole number 7. This is Holly for birdie, similar to what we saw her for, similar distance to what we saw a few holes ago. This time she converts.
That will bring her to 1 under for the round, cleaning up that bogey she had taken on hole 4. She's then -4. It's right in the mix. Just a long kind of go for it, but more like an upshot there for Hailey.
Seems to me like the wind is obviously picking up now, but earlier when she was throwing it, I just felt like her tee shot just sort of fell right out of the air in comparison to Paige's. Paige getting herself closer to the basket than Hailey.
She immediately knew that was not going to connect with the basket. Inside the circle for birdie, Paige Pierce.
Wow, starting out 4 for 4. We're going to roll the Zuka replay. Paige Pierce unstoppable as she continues her dominance from circle 1. 100% on the weekend. We cannot overstate that enough. Paige Pierce, her putter is just on fire.
Not connecting there for Jess. That'll be a tap-in bogey.
I'm feeling like the nerves are really getting into Jessica's headspace. And round 1, she was on camera, part of the feature card, and she had 4 bogeys, 1 double. And then round 2, she comes out, no issues on the putting green or in the fairway. She's 6 under par. Now here she is again on camera. And these are the things that the women at the top have to deal with. You know, there is a gallery watching you, not just for your good moments, but for your bad ones too. And they're going to have a reaction.
We're going to take another look at Paige Pierce in legitimate threat of ruining that perfect putting performance, but not really. Not when you watch it find the chains the way it does, and she knew it out of her hands. She is playing on another level with such confidence, and Paige Pierce extends her lead to 6 strokes over Hailey King.
Already through 4, wasting no time out here on Championship Sunday.
Continue to watch who else can possibly come up and challenge for the remaining podium spots, because Paige Pierce is sitting on top of it right now saying, come get me.
And it's been a while since I was in this type of situation, but looking at Paige stepping up to a putt like that, I mean, the basket has to seem just huge to her. There's just no doubt in her mind, and her confidence is sky high. At this point, she is just going to be shredding the course, and there's no looking back from what I can tell.
She kind of said that earlier in the week. She said she's looking to get out of the first course that they played and then move on. And if she can do well at that one and feel in control of her game, she puts it on cruise control. You know, she can just coast. We said it yesterday. Paige Pierce feeling comfortable, like she can just coast, is bad news for everyone else on this card.
And these next stretch of holes are the ones I was most excited to see between Hailey and Paige, as Hailey does catch a tree. They're all in the 300 or just a little over 300-foot range, and a lot of them bend slightly to the right. Now Paige getting creative, going off, we'll say, the back half of the tee to be able to still take that hyzer approach. But knowing that Hailey's so comfortable with her forehand shots, I feel like she has a slight advantage on this next set of holes, the next 3 or 4 holes. As we see Kat go with the Anheuser, and she will have a tap-in birdie.
3 feet higher, and that would have been right in the heart ace. Beautiful shot from Catrina.
Hole 5 comes in as the 16th most difficult. Oh, and that looks good. Not quite as perfect as Catrina, but let's take another look at that by Catrina Allen. This is the turnover shot. I expect to see a lot of turnover shots from Catrina in these next few holes. In fact, if she throws that exact same shot for the next 2 or 3 tee shots, she may have the exact same result.
And we know she enjoys throwing discs at that stability, throwing and releasing at a hyzer angle and letting the disc do all the work. So she has the technical side of the game, and I think she'll be able to succeed on these beautiful park-like holes.
Yeah, Catrina really pays attention to the tee pad. Something I think we've seen a little bit more from Paige Pierce today, but other than that, something to pick up on if you're new to the sport and want to learn a few things from Cat.
Wow, and it looks like, with them looking up, it looks like Paige is in fact stuck up in the tree. Jamie, can you confirm? She continues to look up. We have to assume she's above 2 meters and taking a penalty here.
First mistake of the day for Paige Pierce. She is going to take that OB penalty.
So I know we spoke of it in the last few days, but anytime you find yourself above 2 meters, roughly 6 feet 6 inches, you are considered out of bounds and you will take a penalty stroke. So Paige never falling to the ground. This is going to be her for her par.
And this is her first OB stroke for this event.
Beautiful upshot. Stepping up with that kind of reached out type of stance. I was a little worried about the height that she was going to put underneath the disc to make sure she got there, because again, there were more trees between her and the basket, but she does a great job to save herself, but puts a screeching halt to that birdie train.
This reminds me a little bit of the Dynamic Discs Open from a few weeks ago. Hailey and Catrina going neck and neck until Hailey comes out on top. Catrina would find herself out of position, and her best shot was either for a bogey or worse, and Hailey would not necessarily capitalize, but just the par was enough to take a stroke back. So unfortunately, Hailey didn't get into the green off the tee, but she'll still be able to get a stroke on Paige should she make this putt.
I said it earlier, I feel like one of the few ways you can possibly catch or beat Paige Pierce is that Paige is going to have to make a mistake. And albeit some would argue whether it hanging in the tree is a fair mistake or not, either way, that is what we're playing here.
And what I've really seen from Hailey is, with all the experiences she's developed in competition, how she's able to bounce back. And unfortunately there, a par would have gained the stroke, and she misses high. You can see frustration with Hailey's stance after that missed putt.
Yeah, Paige certainly opened the door for her on this hole, and Hailey not able to capitalize.
And what we've seen in the past, I mean, we talked about the battles that have happened, and Hailey many times just fell just a little short. She would make a mistake and really get down on herself. I'm hoping this isn't the case today. She's had a few kind of unforced errors, and unfortunately, that was one of them.
Rousing applause for the drive by Catrina Allen. We're going to look ahead. This is Ella Hansen looking at another birdie opportunity.
Wow. Well done, Ella. Great putt. And she's just getting started.
Here's Holly Finley also for birdie. And Holly follows it up.
Wow, making moves. I mean, it's got to be fun playing on that card, seeing those putts. Well, I guess only if you're the player making the putts.
Well, we are starting to see our competitors pick up a few more birdies. Hailey King right now, the one that is struggling, though, and she's the one that needs to get things turned around the most if she wants any chance. She had the opportunity here on this previous hole and wasn't able to capitalize. So Paige remains 6 strokes ahead.
Ella Hansen with that massive 50-foot birdie putt finds herself in solo 3rd place, 1 stroke above Catrina Allen.
I believe this is the first time someone is taking the tee from Paige this entire event, or at least this round.
And that is about pin high. I was just talking about the back-to-back turnovers. We saw that one this one's a little bit longer. Finding one of the low-hanging branches there is Jessica Weese's forehand. Hole 6, 343 feet, coming in as the 14th most difficult hole. And Paige says, I don't know what turnovers you're talking about. I'm going to go with an alternative route. And she's going to make this window much smaller. She's able to go with a flat to hyzer angle on it.
Oh my gosh.
Perfect.
Taking a completely different route. That's what this course allows you to do, with a little bit more space between the trees and that skippy ground play. Paige really using that, her skill sets, and really choosing the strongest shot in her bag.
Wow. And as I was thinking about how they were going to attack it, I have to really thank Paige for the creativity that she's providing, and that creativity will result in the upper park play different shot. Truly going a route I was not thinking about when I was out there doing the course preview, walking around, getting myself acclimated and experiencing the course. I didn't think, oh yeah, somebody's going to step up to this and go with the low hyzer shot off the tee. And well, that's why Paige is your 5-time world champion. Thanks again to Upper Park and Paige with her play different tee shot.
And Hailey hitting that branch right off of the tee. She's only advanced about 70 feet. So this is a long upshot to save par.
Also knowing that Paige is right next to the pin, so at best she will be only losing a single stroke to our leader in Paige Pierce.
Hailey relying a lot on her caddy lately, not only because of all the OB and the hazard out there that changes from hole to hole, but really just mentally. She said, when I have a caddy, especially Lindsay, who's on her bag for this day, and for this event, she forces me to think about my shots and visualize the shots so I can execute them. They go through a list. You know, Lindsay will ask her, how far away are we? What disc are you throwing? What line? Have you checked the wind? And then that really brings Hailey into a controlled headspace. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like Hailey's really capitalizing on a lot of these tees, but plenty of golf left, and this is all part of the growing experience of being a professional. You're not always going to make all of the moves. Just because you're putting in the hard work doesn't mean you get to decide when it pays off.
And knowing what it takes to be a caddy and having a caddy in competitive play, it is really difficult to get past that player bubble. We know Hailey is feeling frustrated with her play at the moment, and It's going to take a lot of work and a lot of kind of positive encouragement from her caddy to get her back on track, because it does sound like they've developed a really strong relationship, caddy and player, and hopefully a couple deep breaths. Hailey is still in a good position, knowing that there's other players that could still catch up from behind at this point.
Oh, I do see it. I'm just inside the circle. Yeah, just outside.
Paige offering to direct traffic.
Confirming Hailey's outside, even though she typically doesn't require a follow through.
Oh, you are?
Wow, and without drawing any medal on that attempt, Hailey's going to have a significant comeback putt.
Catrina really feeling none of the pressure from the top two, just kind of out there having a great day. One down for the round so far. Trying to work on that putting stroke, something that's held her back from plenty of victories in years past.
But it is the one statistic that really allowed her to soar up into the lead card. She came back from the chase card and was in the high 80% of C1X putting yesterday. But look at this putt we have from Hailey for bogey. This is just becoming kind of uncomfortable to watch a player go through this type of situation. Still so early, but it's seeming that Hailey is feeling defeated.
Yeah, and I have to think, I mean, Hailey got her career started in 2018. She signed up for a few pro events, went out on tour in 2019, signed up for a few more, and then was planning to go all in 2020. And it's like she's just getting started. I mean, because she's so good on the putting green as compared to the FPO, it really keeps her ahead of them. And she's not 100% in the fairway yet. You know, Catrina Allen definitely has bested her multiple times in that stat, and it's showing in this round. Fairways and control over your discs was something that Hailey, growing up in Wisconsin and starting in Wisconsin, felt comfortable with. But on an elite level with cameras and all this pressure, I mean, coming into today, there was fans coming up to her for the first time and little girls who have been looking up to her over the past years. That's so much pressure for someone, a 19-year-old, to go through. So this is her story, and we get to see it. And unfortunately, it's not all a highlight reel.
Well, and right now, with her struggles, she is now 7 strokes behind Paige just from today's round. Actually, as we're watching some updates come through, she's 7 strokes behind overall Paige Pierce. And Ella Hansen has to be thinking about, hey, I'm going to keep this going. We've seen her make a few great putts. Even her first 2 were just off the mark. So Ella Hansen might be riding some of that momentum from the chase card. And right now you see her that she has jumped ahead of Catrina in the overall standings. Paige, on the other hand, she's not worried about what anyone else is doing. All she's thinking about is, how can I get anywhere near the basket, because I know I'm going to put in the putt.
Stepping up here on hole 7. No out of bounds. It's all about hitting the line on this 300-foot shot.
And this will also play as a gentle turnover for a righty backhand thrower. Something that we just saw from Paige.
You know, Catrina can dial this shot up. Really, I would imagine this is between either a mid-range or a fairway driver.
That one is low. I was going to say whatever she threw 2 holes ago would be almost an identical shot for this hole. This time she comes in low. She'll have a long look at a putt for birdie from there.
And although we are a little bit protected here in these more wooded fairways, I know the wind is still out there and could also be in the conversation of which discs they're choosing. But Jessica Weese, CTP so far.
This looks like a good shot from Hailey, maybe a little bit short. We'll be back with the putts from hole number 7 after a word from these sponsors.
I know that this is a lot of ladies' first tournaments.
All right, welcome back. We are here with Catrina Allen's approach shot. Certainly not in, well, comfort making range, so to speak, but puts it up right next to the pin. Looks like Hailey King will be next to putt. Hannah, we're continuing to watch the leaderboard. We think about someone like Ella Hansen making a little bit of a charge. Hailey not only is struggling, as she doesn't convert there, she's not only struggling to chase down Paige, which I don't see happening at this point, she's struggling to hold on to second if Ella Hansen and others keep charging.
Yeah, Ella has a couple holes ahead of her, like you said, but similar to yesterday when Hailey was sort of setting the pace for Paige, Ella is 4 down for the round, and she's pushing on to the back 9. I know those last 4 or 5 holes can get a little arduous, but I think she's fine. I think Hailey just has to hang on. But again, Ella on the chase card, and she just has little to no pressure. She's got a great group of women that she's competing with. They're all tied, sure, but they're all really just taking in the moments, happy to be there. Competitive, yes, but maybe a little bit more lighthearted.
Here's another opportunity. She looks to be inside the circle. Paige, she thinks she got away with one there, but still finding the bottom of the basket here on 7. Another birdie, another make inside the circle.
Doubt in the putt. And you can see she's just a little bit thankful that that one dropped when it needed to. And we've seen it in the past. So through the battles, Paige still keeping the conversation with Hailey. And that's a solid putt from her.
She will walk away with the par, though, and lose yet another stroke. Pierce has extended her lead to 10 as they're just through 7 holes in our championship round. Cat in for the par. Paige will also pick up a stroke really on everyone else on the card in Jessica and Kat with her birdie. Let's take another look at Paige Pierce and that putt.
They're saying it's just one step inside the circle. So she continues to maintain that perfect statistic, and she's thankful for it.
incredible action here. Ella Hansen, Catrina Allen, Missy Gannon all trying to charge a few holes ahead. In fact, we're going to check in with Ella Hansen. This is a look at birdie on hole number 10.
Just inside the circle. Wow, look at that scorecard today. Clean golf, 4 under with some impressive putts for birdie.
And as we look at a few more of the statistics here for Ella Hansen, birdie rate, maybe no surprise, at 28%. Also, you look at her C2 putting, 30% right now, and leading the division with that. It's an incredible work out there that she's doing.
Yeah, Ella Hansen saying in an interview for joining Team Discmania, she said her goals for her disc golf career, she wants to make her first big lead card, win a national tour event, and become a consistent competitor with the top women in the sport.
That's happening all in one event.
I think you know better than anyone, Val. Doesn't just happen overnight. Lots of hours of work.
292 feet here for hole number 8.
There is a Mando right off of the tee on the right-hand side, forcing players to play the left-hand fairways.
I would say that's Catrina Allen's bread and butter right there.
It is, and after
Gluten-free
she
bread and butter.
after she had thrown it on hole 5, I was excited to watch. As I mentioned, there's 3 or 4 holes in a row that play very similar out here, and I was expecting to see very similar results for Catrina on all of them, and these last few have been short. Jessica's going to hang the wide driver out to the left.
That's the angle she was looking for on the last one. Comes pretty close to that OB, but she'll be in the circle.
Yeah, that's right. There is that out of bounds creek long. So with this hole being just under 300 feet, it is reachable for players to go out of bounds as they're trying to line drive this to the basket.
A little bit tight for the drive by Hailey on hole 10, but she'll still have a look. Let's take a look at Ella Hansen. We just watched her make the birdie on hole 10. This is her drive on 11. That'll do.
And there's a whole run of holes that are around 300 feet. So if you can get into that rhythm and that flow of that same type of power, similar type of drive, you're going to be putting for a birdie on many of these holes out on this course. And I guess even if you're outside, Ella Hansen's still giving it a run.
So I would pose this to you, Val. When someone like Paige has been so hot with her putter this weekend, she knows she's 100% from inside the circle. Is there any almost additional pressure to keep that perfect percentage going? I think of an NBA player who's made, 50 out of 50 from the free throw line, and they seem like, it's so easy. Are you thinking about, oh gosh, don't make this be your first miss? Is there a weird pressure almost to keep that perfection?
Absolutely. You're stepping up to every one of these putts, and I know she's feeling good, and it makes the putt seem easier, even though they're at circle's edge, just barely inside. I'm assuming she's fighting that urge of, wow, I haven't missed anything. Wow, what's it like to miss a putt? And you're almost bringing the pressure on yourself. So that's kind of that internal conversation that a lot of players have to fend off. And that's what allows you to really succeed.
Solid run by Catrina, just a bit short. Online, though.
Yeah, Catrina really has the crowd on her side for this round.
Now this will be a circle 2 putt.
Watched a putting video for Paige. She said she aligns her right foot, points it to the basket, so she's always following through on that line.
That was right on line.
Yeah, she thought she had it. She was ready to walk it in. Needed a little bit more power. So I guess we realize the only way she can miss a putt is if she's outside circle one at this point. But even those, I'd give her a high percentage more often than not with how much she's dialed in. Jessica would love to make a putt here from circle two.
So a little clarification there that Jessica's stance was actually getting close to the out of bounds line.
And if so, she can always bring it in a full meter. Looks like she's opting just to play it from where it lies.
That is Jessica's 5th circle 2 putt of the day. She has yet to make one. Just been at that consistent distance. Many holes already. So just pars around for our group here on hole 8.
A little bit surprising to see as it is played as one of the easier holes. And also making note, that is Paige Pierce's first par of the round. It took 8 holes, but Paige takes her first par. Here's Ella Hansen.
Ella with a much different stance and approach to this than Paige. So interesting seeing everyone's approaches to putting. It's so unique and personal to the person doing it.
And as our lead card moves over to hole number 9, we'll do a quick look at it. Coming in at 292 feet. That's the exact same distance we saw from the previous hole, but yet a very different look and plan of attack. As you can see, coming in as the 5th hardest, 3.6 is how it is averaged throughout the day. So plenty of danger here. You have the creek that winds throughout this hole, of course, out of bounds. And then a protected green. There's about 4 or 5 trees that kind of surround this green or are just behind it. But of course, that creek being short of it. Jamie, I'd love to know, what do you think is the play or the plan of attack on hole number 9 out here? How do you think we're going to see them play this one?
Well, we're starting to see a little bit more wind than we may have seen at other points. So we're getting up in the air on this one. You're going to have to take that into account. A little bit of a left to right from the angle of the tee pad.
So the right side of the creek plays inbounds. The left side of the creek plays inbounds as well. There's orange markers that line the creek from your tee drive. If you go inside the creek, you are deemed OB, and you'll go to the drop zone where my spotter is on the left-hand side. I have a spotter to the right, a spotter to the left, and a spotter long. You guys are good to go.
Wow.
Right, and
Very
personal.
thorough.
Yes. Who needs a caddy book? If we could just have that gentleman out there on every single hole, it'd be great.
Yeah, we should get him in the booth for the whole intros, Terry.
Are you saying I'm inadequate at what I'm doing here, Hannah? Here's Paige Pierce. As Jamie just mentioned, have to think about the wind, as this will be probably one of the higher altitude shots that we've seen out of Paige in over the last 4 or 5 holes.
And again, she's just making the tee pad her own. It's not necessarily facing in the direction she wants to throw, but she tries to get something going here.
Looks like a misfire by Pierce.
So on this hole, it is just the creek that is out of bounds. So Paige ended up landing on the right-hand side on land, so she gets the green flag. So it's just anything that lands in the creek will go to the drop zone.
Should be left of the pin.
Interesting to hear Jamie and the wind read there with the left to right. So pushing the discs to stay out to the right, as we know many of them are approaching with the hyzer line with the backhand. Here we have Jessica playing the nice out and wide, I imagine. No, that is a different line than I expected.
Yeah, very different, unexpected approach there out of Jessica. Jamie, we didn't see the flag. Is there any chance you can confirm that looked like it was going to land in the creek? Was that out of bounds?
Yeah, Weese is definitely going to be out of bounds. She's the victim of a wind shift that turned into a straight headwind right before she threw.
Hailey also off to that left-hand side. Jamie was just talking about the weather and maybe the wind shift. That certainly did not advantage Jessica in any way, but 75 degrees, humidity relatively low. The wind's just at 4 miles per hour. Seems like a beautiful day here on Championship Sunday at the United States Women's Disc Golf Championships.
Might be just maybe a little gusty at moments, and I think that might be what players are experiencing, because it doesn't seem as consistent. There's not a lot of choices being made because of how heavy the wind is being. But I'm gonna have to question that shot by Jessica. Even in the most ideal conditions, that was a very risky throw.
Spot on, Val, spot on.
Appreciate that, Jamie. So Paige here again, safe on the right-hand side of the creek. So she's just trying to get a line on which is the most open fairway line to get to the basket. To me, looking at the green here, is there a potential rollaway opportunity?
I feel like there's just a very mild slope. Paige obviously contemplating a few different approaches, but that one looks like it'll work.
That was excellent from Paige, just maintaining her composure, just enough power and spin on the disc to get it up into the green, but not enough to carry away from it. Well done.
So there is a drop zone here that Jessica is taking her lie from. Makes it a little more cut and dry on the placement of where you were last in bounds or not. Just go immediately to the drop zone for any tee shot that lands out of bounds. And not an easy drop zone shot. She's getting the roll, and immediately the red flag goes up.
Unfortunately, you were just talking about the potential rollaway or what the slope looked like near the green, although it was very close to the pin, catching edge and rolling down OB. Jessica will likely drop a few strokes.
Yeah, this is really going to be one of those holes that I'm sure Jessica is going to think about after the round, because she was right in there in the mix at that 3 under score, and now putting for double bogey on hole 9.
Hailey King, birdie putt from circle 2, really needs to get herself closer to the basket. She's just opting for that layup. Smart move from Hailey.
There is something, though, a player like Hailey being set back so far, she needs every opportunity that she can get. And the holes are just starting to run out. We're halfway through at this point. Catrina Allen is running at this birdie putt. Death immediately behind. Catches that. I see a spotter running over there.
Jamie, any confirmation as to whether that stayed inbounds or not? All right, it looks like we can actually see that she is, it looks like she's straddling the line, therefore she would be inbounds. If any part of your disc is touching inbounds, then you are considered inbounds, and you are able to bring it the 1 meter, up to 1 meter, back inbounds, even if that means bringing you closer to the basket.
She got extremely lucky there.
Yeah, about 3 more inches, and that would have cost her an additional stroke. And the uphill putt off the top of the basket. So like Jessica, ultimately hole number 9 is going to put a blemish on the scorecard of Catrina Allen.
And this is sort of what Hailey avoided, or not sort of, it is what Hailey avoided in just laying up.
And Paige Pierce keeping it going. A little bit of a misfire off of the tee, but she manages to scramble up to the basket and gets a solid par. And that's just showing a par on this hole is a great score.
Yeah, as we mentioned earlier, averaging 3.61, the 5th most difficult hole on the course. So walking away with a par, as you just said, not going to hurt you.
It's going to be a double bogey 5 for Jessica Weese, bringing her score to 2 over for the round, 1 under in total. Catrina Allen gets her bogey. This will be a par drop-in for Hailey.
We are halfway through the round, but we're going to jump ahead to Ella Hansen on hole number 12. This is her tee shot. Ella Hansen with all the momentum in the world right now. And putting herself deep of the pin.
Yeah, hole 12, 306 feet, par 3.
Also take a look, Kona Panis keeping it just a bit lower. See if that skips. And it does, and closer. As they move forward onto the green, here's Ella Hansen with the putt here on 12, looking at a birdie.
Giving it a good run there, but Heiser's out just in front of the basket. She'll have a tap-in par. And still, clean golf for Ella.
Missy Gannon putting herself into position here on hole number 12 as well. This is her for birdie.
Clean golf as well today. Playing very solid.
There it is, picking up her 3rd birdie on the round. She moves to -6.
As to be expected from the putting world champion.
This is Holly Finley for her birdie. So hole 12, trying to be friendly to our chase card. And an easy conversion for Holly Finley. In fact, she's just going to keep jamming it in there. For Holly Finley. That is, in fact, she's just going to keep jamming it.
That's how it's done, Terry.
I mean, if you're going to practice putt, that's what you want to do. Is repetition is key. All right, as we're going to head on out, we're going to wait for our lead card to get into position on hole number 10. And speaking of 10s, 10-stroke advantage for Paige Pierce over Hailey King. Everything going Paige's way right now.
My eyes are wide looking at Ella Hansen hunting down Hailey King right now. She's just 1 stroke back. So impressive. Here's Paige Pierce on hole 10.
Wow, and I feel like there's a couple of different routes that you can take to attack hole 10. In fact, my note said that if you just simply laid up and walked away with a 3, you would probably be fine. Those were the notes that I made a few days ago. And now as I take a look at what we're seeing for the overall scoring percentages, this is coming in as the 6th most difficult and averaging 3.34. So,
and it looks difficult.
yeah, you're trying to play it out to the right side and hit one of the gaps. And Hailey had the right idea. I feel like if that stayed clean, it would have likely found the slope of the fairway and then just carried all the way to the pin. May have required a skip or 2, but it would have been a great shot had she remained clean.
You said choosing one of the many gaps. It looks like there's about 100 options between those trees, but yeah, just staying clean, getting over that creek. I think I'll be happy. And Catrina Allen blasts it up there.
Yeah, Catrina said trees. What trees?
Again, just the creek is out of bounds here as we're playing the basket on the other side. Jessica Weese opting for the backhand. And that was just moments ago. We're now live with Jessica Weese. Wow, Jessica was short of the creek, choosing to lay up on her second shot, and she does an incredible job.
Yeah, and as I was mentioning, the slope of this fairway kind of brings you down to the water's edge. So if you're coming in with a little bit of a righty backhand hyzer, just account for that ground play. Are you playing for 2 or 3 skips? Are you throwing a sharp edge? Maybe you're throwing a fairway. Whatever it is, just make sure you're accounting for that ground play because it could get up and either catch edge or potentially skip all the way to the OB Creek.
So here's a little bit of that strategy we're talking about on some of these holes. We know Paige has all the distance to get there on 1. Just maybe a little bit too much risk for what she's willing to do.
She really controlled that nose angle. She had that nose down the whole way and just allowed the disc to connect on such a harsh angle and worked out in her favor. She'll have a putt.
And we jump ahead. This is Ella Hansen on hole number 13. Plays slightly uphill. A little bit of a turnover. And it looks like it's going to be short. If she's going to make any magic, it's going to have to come from circle 2 or possibly even circle 3.
I am just so impressed with the play that we're seeing out of Ella Hansen. We mentioned she was an ultimate player, now getting into disc golf. She's done some media in the past. I know she did some filming out there in Rock Hill for the USDGC and the WNC last year. She does media for Universal Play Disc Golf, the nonprofit run by Zoe Andike. And she is just an excellent player and clearly talented and a lot of assets of the game.
True ambassador of all Frisbee sports. She's seemingly has dominated in the ultimate field and is trying to carry that over here into the disc golf arena as well. And really not much more that Hailey can do than lay up here. I believe we're going to have Sarah Holcomb out on the ground. And I know, Sarah, you practiced all the courses as you were a little indecisive about playing. Would you say this is probably one of the most dangerous holes that we find on this particular course?
Hey Terry, there's a few other dangerous holes in 10 and 17, but this is certainly one of the more what I would consider sucker holes. You have to go so far left and challenge that creek to get a look at the pin. These ladies are just trying to get this par and move on.
All right, and I do think about hole 17 that looms, of course, later on in the round as to how they're going to attack that. But Sarah just confirmed, you want to go for the birdie here, but it can get you in a lot of trouble. And right now, Paige trying to maintain that 100% circle one putting. She's coming back at the pin for her par.
This is just barely inside the circle. Keep it going, Paige Pierce. You are looking seemingly just unstoppable. And even when, yeah, let's go just inside the circle, there's still no doubt for her.
I feel as if she's just taunting us at this point, thinking, hey, am I going to keep making these? Well, I'll just keep getting closer and closer to the edge of circle 2.
Well, I have to think a goal for her for a while was to be 1,000 rated, and she's averaging 1,000 at this event. Those are sometimes your goals that start to challenge you. And like you said earlier, Val, they throw you off your game because you get so focused, not necessarily on the competition or on the course, but you start to focus on your goals instead of that.
As you just mentioned, I believe 10-16 and 10-14 have been her 2 ratings, and we'll see what today's ends up at. This is Holly Finley putting for birdie.
We're here on hole 13.
Wow.
There it is.
Holly looking good from distance. They're marking that at 60 feet. Here's Ella Hansen giving it a run from distance. She'll end up tapping in for her par.
A lot of movement happening here in this final round.
A lot of movement from disc in hand to disc in basket, no matter what distance you may be.
Seeing Lisa Fakis also has moved up 4 positions into the tie for 6th, as she currently sits at 3 under for today's round through 13 holes.
Just look at the rundown. 9, 8, 6, 5, 4. Missing a few numbers in between, but it just shows how stacked this competition is. But one of these players is not like the others. Paige Pierce is just shredding the course.
Yeah, Paige is definitely flexing her skills this weekend. I mean, 100% circle one, 70% fairway hits. These fairways are tough to land on. And again, today may be a little easier, but still showing really good control mentally and physically on this course.
Every test she's been given to possibly make a mistake inside circle 1, she says, nope, I've got it right into the center of the chains. She's not just sneaking them in or grabbing a little bit of chain and somehow it pulls it in. She is right in the center of the chains with every putt we've seen from her. Play the easy hyzer, and no putt will be required there as Paige Pierce 2 feet from the pin.
Continuing to set the pace for the rest of this card, and not an easy pace.
See if Hailey King can pick things up in the back half of this round, secure that 2nd place that is currently being challenged at the moment.
Yeah, and I like the differences in attacks on this hole from Hailey and Paige. Paige really playing into her comfort of like that hyzer flip with the putter. She has understable throwing putters in her fierces, so puts it on a nice hyzer. Hailey goes flat. Surprised to not see the other line from Catrina.
It really did look like the more technical line, but I think she's probably feeling very comfortable with those flip-up shots. We've seen her throw many of those already in the round. We see Jess here lining up the wide hyzer.
It's really impressive to me how these women can put it on this hyzer and let it flex out, and it gets its full flight, but it never comes into contact with that low ceiling. Hyzers climb. Being able to control the shift in body weight to maintain the proper height is really impressive.
And we're going to take another look at how Paige attacks
Yeah, you could see it's clearly a putter on this one.
It's going to come in with the perfect speed and finds itself 2 feet from the pin. We'll see if Catrina Allen can get up and down. She's going to be left with that for a long look at par.
And that's the thing. On these courses that we've watched this week, I feel like they're all reachable from the tee for 98% of the division. But if you're not clean off of the tee, you're required to save yourself with the putting. And you can see right here, Catrina getting hung up early, having a great upshot, but she's got to make that putt to solidify the par.
We jump ahead. This is Konopanis on hole number 14. Playing the wide shot. That's the place you need to be. My notes say play that wide to the right and have it filter back to the left. Anything short and left will be punishing. Incredible performance. Nice shot there by Konopanis. And I'd love to check in, Sarah. We know that the chase card is a few holes ahead, but what's the overall vibe? It seems like is there a lot of people out there? Are they rowdy? Are they loving all of this?
I'm seeing a lot of jaws dropping as these ladies are performing these excellent skills. There's probably a couple hundred people following the lead card, but on the chase card, there's probably 50 or 60 out there giving them support. So battles all around.
Wow, great to hear everyone from the area coming out and providing the support, and also our women stepping up to provide the show that they are. Right now it seems as if it's the Paige Pierce show. See if anyone else is going to bring some fireworks. There's Jessica Weese from Circle 2.
We know they're cheering on this local favorite. Let's see. Jess, can she get on the board with this big putt?
Yeah, over the offseason, Jessica was doing some active recovery from a shoulder injury, and any practice she did was really only on the fairways with her left hand. So that was something she taught herself, and it's a good skill to have, but not a lot of putting practice this off-season, mostly about recovery.
There's one for Kat. I love the height that she gave that, and a lot of spin allowed the disc to really propel into the chains. It wasn't that lofty float that we typically see Catrina doing from distance.
Incredible par save there by Catrina Allen. Here's Hailey for birdie.
Their first birdie attempt from Circle 1 in quite some time. Hailey just unable to connect.
And that's the thing, when Hailey misses, the misses are still pester putts coming back. She hits that one, that will be a par for Hailey, and that'll be her 5th par in a row.
Jessica also with the par. And moving to 20 under is Paige Pierce, your outright leader here. Let's see what she's been doing earlier in the round today. We go all the way back.
It's going to be a pretty simple explanation here. Parking pretty much every tee shot and slamming in putts when she needs to. I mean, it's been pretty flawless besides that one bogey stroke that we see on our card, and that was the unfortunate 2-meter rule coming into effect.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been great.
Yeah, and her game plan is certainly open to change. We've seen her step up to shots with multiple discs in hand. She's checking out different lines depending on what gusts of wind she might be experiencing or just overall how she's feeling. But she's still connecting and trusting her instincts, and it's paying off for her. I mean, that confidence goes a long way, especially on the putting green, and she is flawless.
So true. And typically, we see how aggressive Paige can be and going for things that we might question here in the booth, and maybe that just gives us something to talk about. But she has been playing a little bit more strategic on these courses, laying up when the risk is a little bit higher. And so it's been very interesting to watch her approach. And she's still playing pretty perfect golf, even though she's having to choose to kind of concede certain shots.
And that one somehow slides past all of the trees. And I think about Paige, and we're also seeing even caddies and the like all saying, what is happening here? No matter what she does, it seems to land next to the pin, and a park job for Pierce.
Well, yeah, I think at the end of the day, I mean, this is a major. They care about it, but they don't hate each other. I mean, she's playing incredible golf, and there's a moment where you just have to sit back and be in awe of it.
Remaining clear of the trees, Hailey King will have another look at birdie from inside the circle. And that will be a little bit short, but makeable for Catrina. Hole 12 playing as the 17th most difficult, so certainly one of the easier holes. We've got more action coming to you. Stay tuned.
The XT Nova, it taught me how to throw smooth, clean lines, but it also taught me how to build trust in my disc. I can put it on any line and it will hold it. I know when I throw it, it's gonna stick right there. I feel like it's very unique, and it kind of reminds me like nobody's ever the same. That's what I love about it. It stands out. And for me as a person, I like to stand out.
I'll take this one.
And we're back here with Hailey King, first up with her attempt at a birdie putt.
Again, a putt from circle 2 for Hailey. Hasn't been able to connect. Last time she connected for birdie from circle 2 or from birdie at all this round was back on hole 3.
And there's something, if we're going to compare Paige and Hailey, things aren't coming naturally for Hailey today. A little bit more forceful, as Catrina isn't able to connect there as well. But for Paige, on the other hand, I mean, we just saw the tee shot, not on the perfect line, but the course lending its help and kind of pushing her disc back to the basket. It's just when you have to realize it's one of those days for a player like Paige Pierce. While Hailey's trying to make it happen, things aren't falling in her lap. There we go. Birdie for Jessica Weese. Her second birdie of the day, but still remains at 1 over for the round. Wow, and noticing here, Hailey tapping in, Catrina tapping in for their pars. Look at how close Paige was on her drive as she taps in for birdie.
Well, and while you're at it, if you need to keep yourself clear of the sunshine out there in California, of course, you head over to dgpt.com/shop and you pick up a Finley hat. I honestly, Val, after an entire year of talking about these hats, I don't know how there's still any in stock, but if you head out to dgpt.com/shop, you could pick up one today. How many of these do you have? Because I know sometimes you have a working Finley hat, and sometimes you have a playing Finley hat, and sometimes you have a commentating one. Do you need to pick up any more?
Well, I'll save some for the rest of the viewers out there. Head over to the shop and grab one yourself today.
All right, if they're still in stock, we move over to hole number 13, a slight uphill at 336 feet. Just 5% of our field finding birdie here so far today. So we go from a couple of our easiest holes onto one of the more challenging one, averaging 3.16 throughout the day. And yes, it's 336. I feel like this probably plays more to the 350, maybe even 360 category because of the slight uphill incline.
And Ella Hansen, just taking a look to the scoreboard, she's 3 down through the last 5 holes, and Hailey's even through the last 5 holes. So Ella a couple holes ahead, but she's making a move on Hailey, and it's strong.
That is probably in just about circle 2 range. And if there was one hole on this course where I thought, okay, someone like Paige or Hailey have a distinct advantage, this is one of them.
We do know that Catrina Allen has the distance to get here. And with that elevation, we could see Catrina giving us an attempt.
Catrina heavily relying on backhand rollers in the last few weekends. We'll see if she goes with that approach. But first we're going to have Hailey King.
So I'm looking at the caddy book here, and it is noting that there is a road on the left-hand side that can be played as a hazard. So there is a little bit of trouble that players need to be aware of, but it's not looking like it's coming into play for this group.
That looks like a great shot from Hailey King. Again, according to UDisc, putting for birdie from that circle 2 range. I'm going to go ahead and assume it's closer to the circle's edge mark, but still, Hailey King does feel comfortable within that stat, but that's not where you want to be.
Looks like Kat's going with the backhand turnover, and that has a little too much turn on it. But what we're going to do is we're going to break down, take a look at what Paige Pierce has been doing today. I mean, of course, throwing nearly flawless shots.
And what we always note, I mean, players of any size can be a factor in disc golf. And Paige, with her short stature, she's just so powerful in her technique. Full reach back, and I always just love the extension that we see in her follow through. She puts her entire body behind her drives, and that's why she is the farthest thrower in the women's game. And I was about to say one of, but from what we have seen in the tournament she's played this year, she is throwing farther than I've ever seen any woman throw before. And it is just so impressive.
Yeah, not only that, Val, but just her form in general allows her to stay so in control of her shots. So not only can she get the distance, she knows where the disc is going. And granted, the further you throw and the harder you throw, maybe you give up a little bit of that accuracy, but not Paige. She really, really can stay in control of her shots.
And on multiple occasions here today, we've seen Jessica with an approach shot where she's intentionally using the ground to play for the skip. And I think that's a little bit of local knowledge. And of course, all of our competitors know that that option's available. But Jessica may be the most comfortable with using that specific approach.
Yeah, Jessica has been on tour for about 7 years now, but previously she toured all around California, and as we've said, she's played several events on these courses.
I think this is a pretty comfortable range for Catrina to give this one a good run. Taking a little longer to set up, make sure she's getting on line.
Wow, and you called it, Val. That was a very comfortable range. Just a few more inches, she would have found the long birdie from deep in circle 2. Hailey King with a very different putting stroke, but yet as effective, if not more typically.
There we go. Hailey King's 9th circle 2 putt of the day, and this is her second one. She's able to get into the basket.
I think the additional leg kick is what did it for her.
Yeah, and the caddy yelling for you doesn't help, doesn't hurt either. I mean, that's enough to boost your confidence.
So take notes. Leg kick, caddy scream, circle 2 birdie make.
It's all there in the playbook, and a great putt there by Jessica Weese. Also back on the tee, I think we saw one of our other fellow competitors in Maria Oliva join the card, and she's going to become a spectator here for the round, as I'm sure so many women have from all of the U.S. women's competitors get done with their round and then come over and spectate for our finals here in the FPO division. We've got Ella Hansen with her drive on hole number 15, par 3.
.381 feet to the basket here on hole 15.
And just trying to slide it up next to the pin. I'm going to go ahead and say, I know I talked about hole 10's difficulty. Hole 15, I feel like even ups it just a little bit. Is a challenging hole where I feel like a par is, you've done all the work you need to do if you're walking away from there with a 3. But Paige Pierce sits 11 strokes in front of Hailey King, and Hailey King is currently being chased down by the woman we just saw in Ella Hansen. She maintains that 2-stroke advantage over her, and Missy Gannon sitting in 4th at 6 under. Here's Hailey King.
This is relatively one of the easier holes on this course, but this road does come into play, and it's not road and beyond, it's right of road and beyond. So I believe that Hailey will be safe on this tee shot. And that's one of those things, that studying the caddy book makes this hole a little bit easier for players to feel slightly more comfortable.
Yeah, we really see the lack of comfortability from Hailey on the fairway from her tee shots compared to Paige. I mean, Hailey really hung that out on the right side and didn't give it enough angle for it to skip back in, or maybe he wasn't even going for that shot in the first place, whereas Paige, you know, pipes one right down the middle and trusts that it's going to come in towards the green. Gets a little hung up, takes off a little bit, but still, she's willing to give it that chance.
And after the skip, finding herself just left of the pin from inside circle 1. We'll see Jessica Weese with a birdie look.
If that had gone in, I would have fallen right out of my chair. I was on my way off my chair. That was great.
And Kat getting a roll.
As usual, showing us how it's done on the fairway.
She's going to have the closest to the pin. We're going to take another look at Jessica Weese trying to play the skip ace here on 14. Oh,
my
birdie
goodness.
putts and more on the other side of this commercial break.
Women are being featured in the magazine.
The women are out there, the pro women, so then it kind of motivates a lot of us amateurs to like go out there and not be afraid.
I would love to see more tournaments like this in the future for women's disc golf.
I want to see more women filling spots in a tournament than men. That'd be something to brag about.
Disc golf's legit and we're here to stay and we're gonna make names for ourselves.
Say yes to disc golf!
Welcome back, everyone, here on the green of hole number 14. A few moments ago, I know you had watched Ella Hansen throw her approach shot. She went on to then make that par putt. She continues to challenge Hailey King for that second place positioning. This is Hailey for birdie.
Make that her 10th circle 2 putt attempt of the day. Just showing that Hailey's drives are just kind of putting her just out of position. Imagine if she were getting a little bit closer, bringing herself closer to the circle's edge, how much closer the competition might be. And it really kind of ended for us at hole 6, but Hailey is still hung in there and she's still hanging on to second place.
This is Paige from circle 2. Wow, and again, even Paige from circle 2 just off the mark low. I believe that's the second time we've seen her low from that distance, but right on point.
After that ace run, Jessica is finding herself with a little bit of an awkward positioning here, having to go to a knee, straddling out to the side just to get a better view of the basket. And a clear look around those oak branches.
That's a disappointing par after so close to the pin and ultimately walking away with the 3. Now here's Catrina Allen. This is for birdie. And she capitalizes.
As the rest of the group will just tap in here for pars, Catrina Allen will take the box as we head into the last 4 holes of this major tournament. And they do get a little bit trickier as we head into the final holes, and with a lot on the line for these competitors, it's going to make all the difference in how well they practice these shots.
Hole number 15, as we were watching Ella a few moments ago. Approach to this one, 0 birdies were given up here on this hole as it places the 3rd hardest, averaging almost as a par 4, so to speak, at 3.78. I'd love to hear from Sarah Holcomb. There's danger on the left, but Sarah, what should any of our competitors be thinking about when they're stepping up to such a treacherous hole here on hole number 15?
I think they're going to think about laying up and where the best position for that approach shot is. That creek is coming in real quick on that left side. Anything that lands the basket or left side is likely to roll into that creek OB.
Wow, and this is just giving us the perfect view of what Sarah's talking about with the trouble. So even if players were going for the basket off of their drives, something to be aware of. But even laying up, we have to assume that's going to be a very risky layup just to get close to the pin. So trouble to be had on the green of 15.
After the birdie, Catrina Allen with the honors.
Anyone can show these women how it's done. It's Catrina.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say that is the best drive that has been thrown here on Championship Sunday by anyone in the FPO field. I am so impressed by where that just landed.
Yeah, and these are exactly the holes that she went and practiced and practiced and practiced these last 5 holes. And she said whether she's behind or in front, or whether she's feeling out of her game and she wants to lay up or get aggressive, she wants to know what she's going to do.
And that was tracking toward the out of bounds. Sarah, can you give us a confirmation? Did you see a spotter give us any kind of indication if that went OB or not?
Yeah, that second shot went OB. The first one, though, Cat shot, is about 25 feet short, looking at a birdie look.
If you're going to be aggressive, you have to turn this over, and that gets a kick to the left. I think she's going to stay up and still remain in bounds. Or Sarah, actually, can you clarify? We just barely can't see the spotter. You know if
Yeah,
Paige's
that third
shot
shot
was in
was
bounds?
also out of bounds.
All right, so Paige not letting her foot off the gas, trying to go for this pin, and that's going to result in a OB stroke to the left side. Let's take another look at Catrina's shot. I believe at no other point this weekend did we see 2 OB shots on the same card. All at the same time, Catrina Allen is just piping it up the middle.
How did that happen? I love seeing that slow-mo because she released it as a turnover. It hit the ground turning over, and then all of a sudden rode the ground and hyzered to the basket. That was some remote control action going on. I think we need to look into it.
Yeah, Catrina really knows how to play the ground here on these fairways, and it's definitely showing today. I mean, I'm really glad that she made her way up into the lead card and we get to see her, but she's got to keep fighting if she wants to finish in the top 4 or top 3. She's 5 down so far for the event, 1 down for the round, but Ella Hansen and Missy Gannon are really making a charge for that positioning at the top.
And as you mentioned, for Catrina to put in so much practice here on these finishing holes, really set herself up for success, to be aggressive, to give herself that slight advantage over players that maybe just got in the 1 practice round. And again, we played 3 courses this week for the major. So there's a lot of holes to practice and perfect, and really goes to show the experience of Catrina, knowing difficult finishing holes, and I want to be in position coming down the stretch.
Yeah, just really a champion's mentality and experience shining there by Catrina going out and doing so. And as we just mentioned, 2 of our competitors going out of bounds, Hailey and Paige.
Coming into these final holes, I would say, Val, that you would want to be aware of your positioning if you're Hailey or Missy Gannon, Catrina. But given that they have caddies, I would really want my caddy to know my positioning. Maybe not me, but just as they're advising me on what I need to do or not do, I want them to be aware. So not something I really have to deal with mentally, but they can sort of, like I said, just advise me. What are you thinking about that?
Well, I've always been a player that never really kept track of the scoring. I didn't look at my phone. I mean, I think live scoring was still happening when I was playing, but it wasn't something I paid attention to. And especially with a few holes still left to play, all that I ever wanted to focus on was playing the best that I could. Didn't want to add to any additional pressure on knowing the score and, oh, this putt really matters. Take all that off the table. When it all comes down to it, play your best And if you have a risky shot on 18, you might want to cue up your caddy to dial up those scores for you.
Paige's approach shot nearly matches what we saw from Hailey King. Both will be putting for bogey. And now Jessica with a very dangerous putt here as well. As Sarah referenced, this does slope down and to the left. So any putt that gets away from you or possibly catches edge and then gets up, it could roll and find the OB. Dangerous putt here for Weese. And she'll have to settle for the bogey.
Seemed like mentally she was willing to go for it, but physically just came up short. Sometimes you get into a fight with yourself out here on these greens.
This putt is just not set up well for Catrina's high, lofty putt. She's got low ceiling to contend with. Using a straddle out to the right, maybe a little bit more ceiling height on this side.
Oh, and I really wanted that. She would have been the only birdie in the entire division here on hole number 15 today. She will have to settle for the drop-in par. Again, I'm still impressed just the fact that she even was in that much of a position to look at the birdie.
And I do love how difficult we really talked up this hole being, and then Catrina parking it like that. Big putt. Paige, even though found herself in trouble, able to step up inside circle one and continue to make it. Again, I really know how dramatic these finishing holes can be, and I really wish we had more to talk about between her and Paige leading into these final holes. But there still is quite a battle going on with the rest of the competitors, even though Paige Pierce gives a stroke back to the field.
The stress-free drop-in par, so close to being a birdie, but we're going to jump ahead. Looks like we've got Missy Gannon, who is currently in 4th place. Hole number 16.
Missy has come out and said, I know I'm a strong putter, but don't underestimate me on the fairway either. I have power.
And now we'll watch Ella Hansen throw her tee shot also here on 16. Also full display of power by Ella Hansen, getting the green flag. All that and more on the other side of this commercial break.
To become a more accurate putter, narrow your focus to one specific focal point on the basket. For some, it's the middle of the pull, and for others, it's a single chain link. Lock in your focus and extend your reach to hit that focal point.
A moment ago, we saw Ella Hansen's drive here on hole 16. This is for birdie. Oh, just off the mark.
Ella Hansen is basket high on this 417-foot hole.
Yeah, she's not messing around, Val.
That is such power. I mean, I invite you all, after this round today, go out to your local course, find that 400-foot hole, and see if you can do that. because I can tell you I cannot. So I'm so impressed with the distance that Ella Hansen has.
And she'll still walk away with the easy par. But the fact that, as you're just mentioning, Val, that she has that look for birdie, so impressive. And I think it's something we have to keep our eye on, her bringing the distance to these Elite Series events. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of her on the lead and chase cards. That was Missy a moment ago tapping in for her par. And Kona will tap in. So Holly Finley, unfortunately, is going to drop a stroke with the bogey on hole 16. And we're back with the lead card. Not sure you could be more relaxed and ready to go here on a Sunday afternoon when you're sitting with this kind of 11-stroke advantage for Paige Pierce.
Exactly. I was going to say there's only one player in that view that looks relaxed. Hailey King just, it's been a rough day, and it's tough to know the potential and the opportunities that she had to go into the round today. And my heart goes out to Hailey because this is a very trying learning experience with the entire world watching you. But we know Hailey is such an incredible player. She's so highly competitive, and I have no doubt that this will just be one of the many opportunities she'll find herself in vying for a title.
Yeah, I would look at this as one of her professional building blocks. And of course, she's experienced victory before. She's gone up against the best, as you mentioned early, Hannah. She's 1-1 against Paige in these really high-profile special events, and all she can do, like you were saying also, Val, she can just build on this. She's got a long, illustrious career in front of her.
And can we just remind everyone at home, Hailey King is 19 years old, so very young, but so talented in our sport already.
Cat keeps the honors here. Now, if this does not come back in enough, you can find yourself OB on the right-hand side. But Cat looks to be in position. She'll have a long putt for birdie. Exciting to see if anyone can get as close as Ella did a few moments ago. Here's Hailey. That is short and left. Appears to be safe.
The crowds are just really building behind this lead card. As we mentioned, this is the largest U.S. Women's Disc Golf Championship in history. Most of the field has finished, and now they're just building that hype behind our lead group.
Well, and it looks as if Paige has just about matched the birdie attempt that we saw from Ella. We'll see if she can convert. She wants to maintain that 100% circle one putting rate. And we need that to push back. And Val, I quickly wanted to touch on congratulations to all of our champions and competitors here at the United States Women's Disc Golf Championships. It's been an incredible week, playing 3 courses over 3 days as we're about to crown our FPO champion. Well, let's take another look at Paige Pierce.
Paige really showing us how it's done on this hole, and just, again, just pay attention and take notes, everyone at home, whether it's YouTube or Disc Golf Network. The way she can control the ground play off the tee is so remarkable, and it's so much easier said than done.
Well, as we're taking a look here at hole 16, I'm almost surprised to see this as the single hardest. Of course, it has not given up any birdies, but I think already ahead to hole 17, and I would have guessed maybe that to be the single hardest. But we've talked about how the preparation done by Catrina to come out to these last 4 or 5 holes, and now you can see why. because they are so challenging and they require so much accuracy. And the fact that someone like Catrina had come out and put in that extra time and effort makes perfect sense as we're looking at it. I'd love to send it out to Sarah Holcomb here. And Sarah, maybe you could describe the green. What should they be worried about? How close does the creek actually come into play? Those types of things out here on this green?
Looks like the creek is only 15, 20 feet behind the basket. And thankfully, Hailey's shot, as it was trying to trickle down, it hit some logs on the ground, and she'll actually have an open look at a long birdie.
All right, and then are we assuming Jessica Weese out of position? She's looking just to lay this one up next to the pin. How steep is the ground next to the basket?
It's a gentle slope. We're looking about 10, 15 feet of elevation change, and it looks like it's just going to be a layup from both her and Kat. And she's caught up in possibly those trees in the way. So she'll have another long look downhill with a death butt green behind her.
All right, thank you to Sarah Holcomb out on the ground. And of course, we wish nothing but a speedy recovery, as Sarah has been nursing a minor injury for the last few weekends. Very awkward stance here for Catrina Allen.
Catrina really showing how she normally dominates the field in distance. She definitely has that power, but fortunately on courses like this, she wasn't able to take advantage, and really came down to her putting. Fell short several times, and that's why we see her out of position for the win today. But the thing I like about Catrina is that, you know, she competes in all these elite events, but even when they might not be up to her standard or played to her strengths, she never quits or gives up on herself.
As Sarah had mentioned, a few of these logs or branches had possibly stopped the momentum of Hailey King's drive, so it stays safe.
And that's a good thing for Ella Hansen. Although Hailey can't make that putt, Ella Hansen is still creeping in the distance, one hole ahead of this group.
This will be Jessica to save her par. And unfortunately, that will result in a bogey for Jessica. Jessica, a little bit of a struggle here today. She has fallen from her 4th place position into a tie for 9th at the moment. Here's Paige Pierce for yet another birdie. Could be the only one of the day here.
Bringing Paige with that birdie putt to 7 under for today's round. The only player relatively close is Ella Hansen, who we see jumping up there at 9 under. The battle is truly on for that 2nd place finish. And really looking at this leaderboard of players, scores are all over the place. From 7 under, we have Hailey King at 3 over.
And providing us a little bit of a hole preview will be Ella Hansen throwing her tee shot here. This is on hole 17 a few moments ago. Finding the gap, somehow getting it through. If you hit anywhere on any of those trees, it'll all but bring you down into the OB Creek. And she capitalizes. She takes the birdie on 17, and Ella Hansen with that birdie is tied for 2nd place with Hailey King at 9 under par. What an effort by Ella Hansen here today.
And this is one of the holes that I really wanted to understand how players were going to attack it. And when I asked you, Terry, you said it's likely most of the players are going to be laying up short. but it all depends on where they are and what position they are going into this hole. For Ella Hansen, it is full steam ahead, and there was no doubt she wasn't going for this. And let's take a look at this flyover, because this is not an easy hole to go for the green.
Well, we're seeing it playing as the third hardest, and really not just that the creek is there. The distance of the creek is not the problem. I feel like the factor of hitting any one of these trees, I was going to say the guardian tree as well, that's a small forest. If you hit any one of those, it will likely hit the hillside and then roll into the OB Creek, or just fall into the OB Creek right out of the sky. So seeing Ella throw that tee shot previously, so impressive. It is only 309 feet, so I realize it might feel weird to lay up. However, if you punch the gap and you hit it, you could be rewarded with a really incredible birdie.
And we know Paige Pierce really has nothing to lose. 2 holes to play, a substantial lead. I'm really interested to see, you know, with no risk at all, is Paige going to go for this one?
She was talking about moving a spotter out of the way, and she has such an incredible lead. She's so far ahead of everyone else. You know, she could struggle mightily and still walk away with a comfortable lead. So I feel like she's running this. And pures the gap.
Could not ask for a better shot on this hole. I mean, we saw Ella have great positioning in the circle, but still, she had a little bit of luck to get there. Paige Pierce really taking advantage of that small gap in the fairway.
And somewhat surprised to still see the serious game face by Paige even after that incredible shot. She's got this wrapped up, and going with an alternative route out and around is Catrina Allen. Love seeing her utilize the power and get a little bit more creative. Hailey King's shot catches the left side. Sarah, can you get a confirmation as to if that was out of bounds or not? It looked like it was tracking that way.
Yes, that is out of bounds. It hit that palm and kicked back. She is dry, but it is out of bounds by a couple feet.
And that's exactly what I was saying, as I knew if you hit anything, any part of these trees, there's a good chance it could go OB. And that has second place implications written all over it with Ella Hansen. But first, we're going to take another look at Catrina's upper park play different shot going out and around on hole number 17.
Really, one way to get the trees out of your way to get up to the green. And Catrina Allen has the distance to reach the basket. She's basket high, but it'll be a tricky putt.
Big thanks to Upper Park, along with our incredible shots that we've seen out throughout the day, getting a little bit creative and playing different. So let's start to talk a little bit more about Ella, along with what we're going to see from Hailey King. Hailey King being out of bounds, and it seems like all the momentum, the advantage right now, tends to be in Ella's favor.
Yeah, and Paige. Paige Pierce noting that anyone could play well on these courses. I mean, given their length, and not necessarily that they're easy, but they're just shorter and technical. So Ella has proven that she has the power and everything in between. But, you know, these are definitely courses she can be competitive with women like Catrina Allen. Catrina can't just throw over 400 feet and shake her off. You know, she's got to know what she's doing on these fairways. And Ella Hansen, you know, coming from that Ultimate career, I mean, she was a top handler in Ultimate for years, and then transitioned fully into disc golf when the pandemic shut down her Ultimate team from having any sort of sport outings going on. So in less than a year, she's, I mean, come into disc golf stardom, and she's on her way to come into second at a major. That's incredible.
Well, we saw Hailey King throw her approach shot from the drop zone. Any out-of-bounds shot then goes immediately to the drop zone that she had thrown from. That's all but guaranteeing you the bogey 4 at that point.
You can, yeah. It's up to you. I'm not sure where exactly you are.
Kat, you're over by Keenan.
Go for it, yeah. Okay. About right. All right.
You hear Jessica offering to go as they were uncertain exactly how close Kat was to the pin, or is to the pin. Yeah, and this hole has 59% of our competitors shooting bogey or worse, which just speaks to the danger that can be found out here. There have been 6 birdies, but 59% of our field finding bogey or worse. Here's Catrina trying to make it the 7th birdie. Middle of circle 2.
And a clean look at the basket, past all the trees.
And out of her hand that looked like it was off the mark. Of course, she's going to be nestled right up next to the pin with a tap-in par, which is not the run we would have expected to see from Kat. Here's Paige. And again, birdie, Paige Pierce, as she will push to 22 under par. Dominating performance.
Absolute perfection out of Paige, dialing up her game at such a great moment. We know that we're getting into really the heart of the season, and for her to now claim the first PDGA major of the year, we can only imagine that this is the jumping off point with the Worlds just under a month away.
We've got the final hole of the U.S. Championships coming to you on the other end of this commercial break.
This is Hydrogen, a Speed 1 disc golf putter made by Luft Discs, designed to fly as straight as possible. Why do you putt with a Speed 2 putter and not a Speed 13 driver? Probably because high-speed discs fade more when thrown softly. But then, why not go Speed 1?
Welcome back, everyone, as we're taking a little look at what we've seen this year. And Hannah, I know you were telling us that Paige, of course, started out the year very strong, but it seems like everyone else has had their chance in the winner's circle since then. Is this all coming back in Paige's favor? Is the momentum swinging?
I mean, there are a lot of women that can come out at any weekend, and I think, like we've seen in the Mixed Pro Open division, you know, you shoot a little off and suddenly there's 3, 4, 5 competitors jumping ahead of you. We've seen that with Catrina Allen. Paige obviously is dominant. She's, I would say, still the fan favorite every weekend by a majority. But there are a lot of other women that have proven themselves worthy of taking down an event like this. Paige had to shoot lights out for 2 days in a row. Going into the third day, she shakes off Hailey King. And in a lot of ways, I think Hailey might have done that to herself. But still, Paige had to shoot really well in the fairway and 100% in the circle 1, and Hailey was still right there. So it just goes to show the level of competition that the FPO has risen to over the past few years.
Well, and speaking of the level of competition, this woman right here, Ella Hansen, is going to be a name we continue to talk about in upcoming events. If she performs anything like what we've seen from her this weekend or over the last few weeks, I think she's going to be a name that will be in that conversation more often than not. As we look at some of her statistics that we see here on UDisc and where she's leading various categories, Val?
Yeah, and so this is comparing her closest competitor in the battle right now as we head into 18. Ella Hansen, Hailey King, who is going to end up taking that second place. Hailey King still leading in the typical statistics, leading in the fairway hits just slightly above Ella, circle 2 in regulation and C1X, but the strokes gained is where Ella is really shining today. And look at this right here. I know Zoe and Ella have been training together, and I think this is a really positive thing to see Zoe, Dustin cheering on Ella for this final hole of the major.
Yeah, this is the one par 4 that we'll find out here, 493 feet.
Speaking to Zoe, I know you said she created UPlay, which is like a great nonprofit for just going into underserved areas and teaching disc golf and working with schools and everything. And Hansen, you know, according to an UltiWorld article, said, you know, that's given her an opportunity already to get involved in coaching with disc golf. Already. Like, she's that obsessed with the sport that she wants to show everyone, and not just show everyone, but teach them and grow their own game as well.
Just watch Kona Panis after a little skip and additional roll. That's going to find the OB on the left-hand side. A little bit of a disappointing finish to the tournament over the last day and a half by Kona Panis. She's currently tied for 5th right now. She did have 3 birdies and a single bogey going into this final hole. I like the angle from Holly Finley. Holly also in that tie for 5th at the moment with Kona Panis and Catrina Allen.
And this almost seems like it was produced, but we now have our last 2 cards remaining on the course on the tee of 18. So all the players still left to potentially move up or down are all on this 18th tee pad.
Certainly can watch and learn from what others in front of them are doing, as that is short and left. She'll be a little out of position from that left side, but I think we're going to be able to take a look at what Ella Hansen and the form that she has converted, brought from Ultimate over here to disc golf. Great reach back, flat, fluid, and so powerful.
And flat is the key. In Ultimate and Frisbee throwers, we typically see a little bit of a disjointed throw, but Ella is just so powerful, and that proves that it gave her so much advantage on the course today. 6 under in today's round, shooting her up the leaderboard, besting Hailey, who is currently sitting at 4 over for today's round. So 1 stroke advantage in Ella's favor, but we still have 18 to continue to play out.
Also, I believe certainly worth noting, Ella Hansen, the only competitor on the entire field today that has remained without a bogey. So she's moving into this final hole, a par 4. She looks to be in good position. She can close out her championships without a bogey on the final round. That would be incredible. And also be incredible if I looked at UDisc correctly to see that Missy Gannon is bogey-free. She has 3 birdies, but has remained bogey-free as well. Thank you, Val and UDisc.
Missy Gannon representing Beacon, New York. I believe this is about her 3rd season on tour. Not counting last year, wasn't a full season, so 3.5.
Very makeable territory there for Missy Gannon. She'll have that left for her birdie. And we look at the separation that we see here today. Paige Pierce just going on a tear, all while Hailey King struggled, and the two of them then created so much separation. To think that they started off just 2 strokes apart as this day began. Pierce taking it to another level, and Hailey just simply not able to keep up.
Ella's finding herself on the far right-hand side of the fairway, so taking a different approach to the basket than the other players have so far.
See if it gets a skip.
Didn't appear to have much movement on that second shot, but it is a par 4, so she'll be able to see the basket from there at least.
Yeah, assuming that she at least takes a par, let's just step ahead 1 or 2 throws. At worst, she takes a par. That would mean Hailey King would need to birdie just to secure a tie for second place. So no matter how you look at it, a great performance here by Ella, especially stepping up in this final round. Incredible to think that you were just started playing in a few months ago, and here you are trying to take second or a tie for second at one of our biggest and most elite majors here in the disc golf world.
Holly Finley is in just the perfect positioning here, looking for a little lift at the end though to carry her closer to the basket.
Kona will retrieve, and looks like she still might be a little out of position, but I believe we've got Sarah Hokum out there. And Sarah, I'm not sure where you're positioned, but can you give us some vibe? What are the feels? This is the first time we've had a legitimate backup on the course. It's the final hole of the entire tournament. What seems to be the tone out there?
Well, I'm on the green of 18 watching these approach shots, and the crowd is intently watching. The ladies are focused. You can tell that they know that these strokes matter.
I'd love to follow that up, Sarah, and just say it was tough for us to tell how close Ella was for what would be her birdie putt. Did you have a read on what she's looking at?
Looks like she is outside circle 1, so we'll have a long look at birdie.
All right, well, perfect. As I said, even if she were to take a par, she's in good position for a share of second place or better at this tournament.
Paige Pierce waiting patiently on the tee pad as the second card finishes up, and you can only imagine in Paige's head, this is just that victory lap. She is just gonna walk this one in with no repercussions, no matter what happens. She has done all the work she's needed to do.
What a momentum shift for Paige as well. I mean, she has some big tournaments coming up, and including the World Championships in just a matter of weeks. So being able to build on this from here is going to make a world of difference, I think, for her career as it stands this year.
And a moment ago, we saw Ella Hansen pitch up next to the pin. She's inside 15 feet, trying to close out for par. A 6 under round going for Ella Hansen. If she remains bogey-free, she will be at 9 under for the tournament.
Wind pretty audible, and you can see it's holding that flag consistently.
Holly's birdie bid doesn't connect, and waiting there patiently, knowing she will be in contention at future majors and the World Championships just around the corner. You see Catrina Allen along with Austin Hannum. Early goings, I was expecting to see Kat just go on a tear as well. I thought she was poised to do so, and then she just kind of leveled out throughout the middle portion of the course. Picked up the birdie back on 14, but she's looking at a tie for 5th right now.
Kona was making a solid effort here in today's round, sitting at tie for 5th currently. Really solid shooting from this chase card. Kona was at 2 under, Missy Gannon 3 under for today's round. Here is her putt to finish the day with a par.
Great putt from Missy Gannon.
And with that putt, she is at 6 under. And so again, looking ahead, the worst that she can finish is in a tie for 4th place here at the U.S. Women's. And by that I say Catrina Allen, if she were to birdie, Catrina would get herself to 6 under. So solid performance here for Missy Gannon. This is Ella Hansen to close out her first U.S. Women's.
And that is what I didn't want to see, but something that can be expected out of a young player. The nerves on a finishing hole, knowing everything has built up to this point. I think that's what it all came down to, Terry.
It did. Unfortunately, you have to attribute that 100% to nerves, knowing, hey, I'm just about to close this out. I'm right here contending for a 2nd place position. I've been bogey free. I've played flawless. And then all that just kind of builds to, okay, don't miss the short one. And unfortunately, that's what happened.
Paige Pierce, not only the leader of the day, maybe even the leader lately of women's disc golf in general, but she's going through a lot. I mean, she's with this camera guy. He's doing some documentaries on her. She's got people filming her. She's got business opportunities. Her sponsorship with Discraft has really progressed her career a lot, given her opportunities for outside sport articles to be written about her. And that's a lot of different attention than just a girl from Texas showing up to these elite disc golf events. I mean, she's really establishing herself as a great woman in the sport on the course, but now she's also getting into some philanthropy off the course as well.
And I'll expand on that because Paige Pierce has been the dominant force in the women's division for many years. This year, it's been a different kind of story. She was at the top, vying for spots in history. And I really feel like that put so much pressure on her game when she stepped up on the course. I feel like that really took a toll on her mental side, and she ended up struggling in the last month or so when we went down to Texas. There was a lot on her plate. And now Paige is almost creating this comeback story where she was down in the ditches, the trenches, and now continuing to step up to the plate at these huge events. And this is it right here, to get her 16th major title and to be this year's U.S. Women's Champion. Paige Pierce, it's not like she ever left, but Paige Pierce is back.
Jessica Weese currently sits in 10th place. She can move up to a tie for 9th if she can finish with a birdie. She receives the green flag. She'll be in bounds.
And now the fate is in Hailey King's hands. Currently tied with Ella Hansen. Hailey can birdie. She will take solo 2nd place.
And
oh my gosh.
Wow.
Crowd's going wild. If I could scream on this mic, I would do the same. That was a smash.
Paige Pierce has just been so deadly off the tee today, and even when she doesn't put it close, she somehow finds a way to find the bottom of the basket with a great putt. Here we are again looking at hole number 1, getting things started, setting the pace, setting the tone very early with a park job.
She has just looked so comfortable standing over every single one of her Circle 1 putts this weekend.
Taking the alternative route, going high and around. There's her shot on hole number 3, hole number 4, putting her within the circle.
We said at the beginning of the coverage, Terry and Val, this competition level and Hailey, you know, bringing a push to the top yesterday and besting her out on that course, shooting that 10 down, that fuels Paige, and it doesn't often shake her. So if anything, I think Hailey's performance yesterday being so dominant, though it did come from the chase card, really pushed Paige to be at her best today. And that's why we're seeing her be so dominant on the fairway and in the green.
That is so true. And you got to imagine every player has a strategy as they lay their head on the pillow the night before a championship Sunday, kind of preparing themselves for what's to come. And as you mentioned, Paige Pierce was ready to fight today. Ended up fighting early and coming out on top, making it a little bit easier coming down the stretch, but she was ready to play.
Paige trying to get it dialed in with her rangefinder, going with the forehand, and that's going to be just a bit short, but we're greenside with Ella Hansen, who's currently sitting in second. Let's see what she thinks of her performance.
And here with Ella Hansen. Ella, what a round today. 5 down with just that one blemish at the very end. How was your U.S. women's experience?
It was awesome. Yeah, this is my first major. My goal, you know, on first day at Auburn was to shoot even, shot that, and then, you know, just got better over the next 2 days, and I'm really happy with how I finished. Had a very consistent round here until the very end, but I'll take it.
You look very comfortable throwing the big shots off of the tees, getting up there with some names like Kona Panis, Paige Pierce. Your name's in contention with them for your skills off the tee. Is you know, what's next for you?
Just gonna keep playing tournaments. I think that, you know, I'm really excited to compete at a tournament like this. You know, it's a little more technical in the woods, and I know some people were maybe not sure that I would be able to get up there after, you know, seeing me throw far last weekend at OTB, but I know that I can hit those lines in the woods, and, you know, my putting is getting better. I think I putted pretty well today, but yeah, you know, just keep going up and up for sure.
World Championships just a few weeks away. What does a finish like this say about your game and your preparedness?
I mean, I know I can compete at a tournament like that, especially, you know, I've played a lot of Ultimate at elevation, so hopefully that will give me a little leg up. But, you know, it just takes practice, and going to keep, you know, practicing my putting, keeping consistent, and I'm excited to rip on some of those courses and play a little more technical on the other one.
All right, great finish this weekend, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks, Jamie.
Wow, and the bright young star, and we're going to see from Ella just coming into the scene, the disc golf scene that is, and to show up to your first ever major and be vying for at least a spot on the podium, whether it's going to be second or a tie for second. Incredible as Jessica Weese, like I said, with a birdie, can finish in a tie for 9th with Sai Ananda. That would be at 1 under overall.
So we have mentioned that a birdie would give Hailey a solid second place. Hailey's so far down the fairway, she's looking at eagle if she tries and runs for this one.
She's got probably a little over 100 feet to the pin.
Hailey saying in interviews time after time, those little forehand approach shots are her bread and butter. And she's just comfortable doing them.
And that's a comfortable position to be in. You know, we might say a tester putt given the pressure that is on that putt, but for Hailey King, I think that should be pretty solid as we see a solid approach from Paige Pierce. With nothing to lose, she could have went for that eagle to finish off, but she doesn't want to rub it into her faces too much. Paige is just happy to take down this win.
There's Catrina Allen from Circle 2. Again, she thought she had it. Solid bid by Kat. When it's all said and done, I think we're going to see Catrina Allen in a tie for 5th place here at the United States Women's Disc Golf Championships. Jessica Weese with the birdie. And a tie for 9th. This is Hailey King for sole possession of 2nd place.
Congratulations to Hailey. Not what she dreamed up this morning, but still a valiant effort.
There's the props from Paige. Catrina Allen, solid performance here.
The 2021 U.S. Women's Champion, Paige Pierce.
How about you tell me? All right, Paige, I just heard you say it, 100% in the circle all weekend, caps off an incredible weekend of golf. How you feeling right now?
Oh my God, I couldn't feel better. Couldn't feel better. The putt and the mental game has been holding me back for a few tournaments now, so this really puts a statement on I am capable of anything, 100% inside the circle, no doubts in my mind. The basket looked huge this weekend. I got to keep that rolling forward.
I'm pretty sure I heard that last phrase said explicitly on the commentary from the booth. When you came in today, you knew that you were going to have a big battle with Hailey King. You seemed to take control early. What was it about the first few holes that really set the rhythm?
Oh, honestly, it wasn't anything that I did. It was kind of mistakes that she made early, honestly. It took a lot of the weight off my shoulders. You know, I was telling my caddy Nate that, like, I was, maybe you couldn't tell, but I was panicking. I was super nervous. My heart rate was at all-time high. And then after she went bogey to start, bogey par, and I went birdie, it really separated it, and it was kind of going to be hard for her to catch me after that. So I forgot your question, if I'm being honest. I don't even know what you said.
Well, let's go with this one. I believe 16 majors now in the trophy case, and this one was in cruise control for a lot of the round. Most of us will never know what that feels like, so give us a bit of what this feeling is.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Like I said, after I made the separation early in the round, it totally did feel like cruise control. This is a relatively simple track, so it was just kind of get close and keep making your putts like you have been, and the 2 times that I did go off the fairway, I got up and down to save myself. So, it felt like a walk in the park out here.
Great round. The World Championship's just a few weeks away. It's got to feel really good to be playing at this caliber. Are you ready for the battle in Utah?
Oh, absolutely. I've been dreaming about it. So I got my little notebook, all the course notes. I spent a couple, 10 days there or something early in the season. I know what disc I'm throwing on every hole, so at night that's what I'm visualizing. And earlier in the season I was kind of more focused on Worlds than I was at the tournaments I was playing, so that was kind of a little bit of a downfall for me. So I'm going to try to put off thinking about Worlds for a couple more events and then get up to Utah pretty soon.
All right, well deserved, great win, go enjoy it.
Thank you.
Juliana won this tournament 22 years ago for the first
And that was Paige Pierce, your champion. We'll break down what she said and more as we conclude on the other side of this commercial break here at the US WDGC.
Excellence to me is about constant self-analysis. Which habits are helping me towards my goals and which ones aren't? It's the same with nutrition. The foods I eat should help make my mind and my body the best they can be. Thunderbird makes that simple.
I know that this is a lot of ladies' first tournaments.
So many new female players.
Bigger women's divisions, more women's divisions. We're all coming out here to do it together, and that's what's pretty cool. The sport's just growing, and it's exciting to see.
Hello Leopard 3 is stable. It's want to go straight all day long. That's why I love it. It feels good in my hand. It's just very comfortable to grip. Just throw, it's gonna fly straight for you. And I love their plastic. It is beautiful. Look at this color. When you have a pretty dish like this, you just want a birdie, right?
Welcome back, everyone. Valerie Jenkins alongside Terry Miller. And Val, what a dominating performance through and through by Paige Pierce. Where do we go from here?
Paige Pierce has done just about everything you can in the sport of disc golf, and she continues to set the bar higher and higher for women in the future. I mean, this is now Paige Pierce's 16th major title. And she's not getting sick of it yet because we know that we have the preview. We're looking forward to Worlds. We had to cancel this event last year, and now we're back and holding strong. We had to cancel Worlds last year as well. And now we know this is the next major that these women are looking forward to. And Paige Pierce is hunting down her 6th.
And she would be the first woman to do so. So very incredible. She talked about the confidence, some other things that she might be carrying over. And I'm going to throw it to you, Hannah. What did you hear from Paige? Because I feel like some of the women and some of the division have to be scared when Paige is on, when her confidence level is high. What were some of the things that you took out of what she just told Jamie and the rest of us after completing this major victory?
Well, she talked about putting it in cruise control and really how, it felt like a walk in the park, and in a lot of ways it was. But something that struck me as odd was she said about Hailey that Hailey kind of shot herself out of it after the first couple holes. I think it was like the first 4. Paige had 4 birdies and Hailey had nothing but, added strokes. And so in saying that, Paige is really respecting the fact that it was Hailey's decision making and it wasn't necessarily anything Paige did. What that means to me is that Paige knows that in order to be a disc golf champion, you have to play your own game. And carrying language like, my impact on Hailey opens up this whole realm of possibility of other women on Paige's card having an impact on her. Right now, Paige isn't worried about anyone else in women's disc golf. She's dominating everyone and their mama. So she's looking forward to Worlds, and I mean, she's got to be the favorite now. This momentum and just talking about putting it in cruise control. Terry and Val, cruise control is 100% in the Circle 1. This is news to me.
Well, I think about 100% in Circle 1. I could go outside right now and practice all day, and you would never be 100% inside Circle 1. Paige did it over 3 rounds on 3 different courses with different terrain and different conditions, and she was so dialed. She was so focused. Again, that has to be scary to the rest of the division. So what I would follow that up with you, Val, is we talked about the parity we've seen this year. We have other women that have stepped up and have challenged and have gotten past her. But right now, we're getting into the thick of things. We're getting into this season where we're just about to approach the Worlds, carrying that momentum. Is this the right time for Paige to be all systems go?
Absolutely. And it is so great to see how confident Paige is feeling with each one of her discs. She talks about how much practice she's really getting with her bag. And then to see her step up and have that incredible, a perfect percentage of putting this weekend. I mean, like you're saying, it's almost impossible. And the more putts you hit, the more doubt gets closer to creeping in your head. But it never made a difference for Paige. She was just so on a mission from teeing off on hole 1 back on Friday. She wanted to win this tournament, and she didn't let anything stand in her way.
Well, and speaking of standing in our way, we see a newcomer to the tournament. We see a newcomer to the tournament scene, I should say, and that, of course, being Ella Hansen. Hannah, we don't have a lot of history. You're the most researched announcer that we have in disc golf, but you're going to be struggling. There's not a lot of history on Ella.
Hey.
But what do you know, and what should we look forward to? Because in her interview, it sounded like she's also ready to go. She's ready to take on this field.
Yeah, Ella Hansen is just obsessed, and obsession is the difference between great and legendary. And I will repeat that Colin Cowherd quote for as long as I live. You know, Ella comes into the sport. She already wants to teach people. She wants to volunteer with You Play Disc Golf. She has a major sponsor and is representing them really well. And I loved in her post-round interview, she just was kind of not whatever about it, but she was very humble, and she just understands. No, I did really well this weekend, and it happened to be at a major, but these were courses that I can compete well on. And she's well aware that there are other courses ahead of us, given anywhere from a Maple Hill to like the golf courses at Ledgestone, or even what we saw last weekend from OTB. There are shots in her arsenal that aren't tour ready yet, and she needs to work on them, including her putting stroke, including maybe a little bit more of that fairway percentage improvement. But you know, she's got what it takes so far to compete, and she has the drive, pun intended, to continue to push herself to do well out at these tournaments, and she wants to be here. This is her purpose now.
Well, an incredible third place performance for Ella Hansen. Of course, Hailey King finishing in second. So overall, impressive play by so many competitors. We also had 16 other divisions represented, taking in over 260 females here at the tournament this weekend, but 16 other champions were crowned. Congratulations, of course, to all of them, including one Juliana Korver. We know someone who's talked about winning majors, has 5 world titles in disc golf, that is. Juliana Korver takes it down in the FP40 division, so congratulations to her. We're going to start to wrap things up, so we, of course, have to thank Sarah Hokum, who was out in the field this weekend, along with Jamie Thomas, and all of the staff and crew running around. We know this was a monumental effort by the Nisleys, along with everyone else in California, as well as the PDGA hosting our first major of the year. So, for Hannah Macbeth, along with Valerie Jenkins and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, this concludes our 2021 United States Women's Disc Golf Championships. Congratulations again to all of the winners, and we'll see you in a few days right here on the Disc Golf Network as we bring you the Portland Open. We'll see you next time.